Chapter 31:24. After a dreamless night, Luo Qingchen woke up early the next morning. When she arrived at Xingchen Agency, it was time for a regular meeting. It was once a month, and all actors who weren't filming outside had to attend. As Lu Lingye's assistant, she also attended. Xingchen Agency wasn't a very large agency, but it wasn't small either. Although there weren't any A-list celebrities, there were still B-list and B-list celebrities. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the company's upcoming purchase of a relatively popular IP and make it into a drama. Xingchen's project executive, Tan Yu, said, "I have a general understanding of the drama you're currently filming. I'll let AI me take a look at the upcoming drama. If you're interested, you can recommend yourself." Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes and took a look. There were a total of 3 IPs. 2 of them were romance IPs, and 1 was a fantasy IP. Although she had just arrived in this plane, she could tell from the graphic analysis that the fantasy IP was definitely more popular than the previous 2 romance IP. No one spoke. They seemed to be studying seriously, but also seemed to be observing each other. The entertainment industry was like this. Many people wanted to be the first to eat crabs, but they were also afraid of being the first to eat crabs. Seeing that no one spoke, Tin Yu cleared his throat and said, "Actually, I know that Lu Lingye has been preparing to film God of Light recently. Actually, it was our company's negligence that caused you to lose the opportunity to be the male lead." "President Tan, don't say that." Lu Lingye hurriedly said, "The company has already given me the opportunity. It's my own fault for not taking it. But even if it's the role of the second male lead, I will still take it seriously." When Lan Che heard this, he subconsciously glanced at Lu Lingye, revealing a cold expression. Lu Lingye naturally didn't notice this gaze, but Luo Qingchen did. It seemed that Lan Che really hated Lu Lingye, but it was just a talent show. How could he be so narrow-minded? In Luo Qingchen's opinion, such a narrow-minded person would never climb to the top of the pyramid, no matter how much time he spent in the entertainment industry. No. Actually, the company didn't do a good job in the first place. Tan Yu revealed a guilty expression and said, "This kind of matter is obviously a guide for public opinion, but we didn't handle it well. It's indeed the company's negligence." So, just as Tan Yu was about to announce something, Lan Che stood up and said, "CEO Tan, I don't know if I can recommend myself for the male lead of Legend of the Phoenix Mountain." Legend of the Phoenix Mountain was the Xuanhuan IP that the company bought this time. The author, Mr. Blood, was also a famous Xuanhuan author in the literary world. "You?" Tan Yu looked a little embarrassed, but he was too embarrassed to refuse directly. After all, he had just asked the artists to recommend themselves. However, in everyone's heart, there would always be a person they wanted the most for a script. Before the meeting, Tan Yu had intended to give this opportunity to Lu Lingye. It turned out that this was the reason why Lan Che had framed Lu Lingye. Because the original owner didn't participate in the meeting, she didn't have any memories of this. "Does CEO Tan think that I'm not suitable?" Lan Che smiled awkwardly and said, "Actually, I was just saying it casually. If you don't think it's appropriate, don't take it to heart." Chapter 31:25. In the next second, all of her hatred was directed at Lu Lingye. Omega Liguan you could download for free download because Tan Yu changed the topic to Lu Lingye. Actually, it's about the filming of Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. This time, I want Lu Lingye to be the male lead. Tan Yu looked at Lan Che with some embarrassment. "If you're interested in the first 2 romantic dramas, you can come to the audition. The company is constantly giving opportunities to newcomers." Lan Che's mouth twitched. With a stiff smile, he said, "Okay, of course. I believe that every actor has their own soul. As long as I get the chance to perform, I'll be very happy." It had to be said that Lan Che really knew how to conduct himself. Even though he received a lot of mocking looks at the meeting, he was still able to put on a magnanimous act. "Then Lu Lingye, go prepare for the filming of Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. Because you still have scenes, we still need to confirm the time." Tan Yu looked at him and said, "Gold will always shine." Lu Lingye frowned slightly. His eyes flashed. "President Tan, although I didn't play the male lead in God of Light, the second male lead has a lot of scenes. I'm afraid. I'm afraid it won't be easy for me to arrange the time for Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. Luo Qingchun, who was sitting behind him, was stunned. She looked at Lu Lingye in disbelief. He can't be thinking of giving the male lead role of Legend of the Phoenix Mountain to Lan Che, right? F***CK. Is he a Mary Sue? This. Tan Yu seemed to understand what he was trying to say. He hurriedly said, "You don't have to worry about that, President Tan." Lu Lingye's eyebrows trembled. "I think Lan Che might be more suitable for this role." The other artists at the meeting saw this scene and began to discuss it. It was like a watermelon. Some people desperately wanted it, while others didn't care. When the person who didn't care about the watermelon gave it away, it didn't necessarily get the gratitude of the person who wanted it. Those narrow-minded people might think that this was not modesty, but humiliation and mockery. Tan Yu's face looked a little awkward. He sighed softly and said, "Then let's put this matter aside for now. As for the 2 novels about romance dramas, if there are any artists, you can come to me personally or through your agent. I think I'm quite suitable to be the female lead of this movie, President Tan. I think the male lead of this movie can CEO Tan." Since Lan Che had taken the lead, everyone seemed to be a little braver. However, the person who started it didn't seem that happy. Luo Qingchun looked at Lan Che's angry eyes and shook her head helplessly. She wrote 3 big words in her notebook. "Big idiot. Lu Lingye. Oh, Lu Lingye. Your kindness may not earn you the gratitude of others." What was even more frightening was that he did not get any gratitude. Instead, he got even deeper hatred. Lounge. Luo Qingchun half leaned on the sofa and sorted out the information, including Lu Lingye's upcoming work and schedule. "Boss, don't you like Legend of the Phoenix Mountain?" Luo Qingchun asked tentatively. There was a touch of helplessness between her eyebrows. Chapter 31:26. Lu Lingye took a sip of coffee and sighed. "I've always liked fantasy scripts. I also like Mr. Blood's works, including Legend of the Phoenix Mountain." "So, when you said this in the meeting, was it because you wanted to give this chance to Lan Che?" Luo Qingchun said with knit brows. "Boss, do you think Lan Che is worth it for you to do this?" And Lu Lingye thought for a while. He's been working hard. He just lacked an opportunity. Since there's an opportunity now, I think I should give it to him. "AI, how can I save you, my great male lead?" Luo Qingchun blinked. "Do you think he'll be grateful?" "I don't want to help him to make him feel grateful." Lu Lingye passed by her and caressed her head. "I know you care about me. Even if he's grateful, it's not a bad thing." She unconsciously lowered her eyes as a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. Lu Lingye was really gentle. He was so gentle even when caressing her head. In short, Luo Qingchun rested her chin on her right hand and said arrogantly, "He's not a good person. He won't be grateful to you, boss." "I know." Lu Lingye shrugged and said with a touch of gentleness, "The meeting started early in the morning. Let's go eat lunch." "Boss, why don't you worry about anything?" Luo Qingchun could only smile helplessly. "That's right. Why would the boss worry about anything? The one worrying is definitely the assistant. Then let the boss reward the heartbroken assistant." Lu Lingye looked at the time and said, "What do you want to eat?" "In," Luo Qingchun said without hesitation, "let's eat Japanese cuisine." "Okay." Lu Lingye didn't say much along the way. He just muttered the lines of the script. During this time, Sisterly called and said that Tan Yu finally decided to let Lu Lingye play the male lead of Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. As for the schedule of the shooting, it was arranged to match with Lu Lingye's God of Light. As for Lan Che, Tan Yu planned to let him play the role of the 3rd male lead. But anyone who had watched Legend of the Phoenix Mountain knew that the 3rd male lead was not only unlikable, but also did not have many scenes, so he had already received a boxed lunch. Lan Che naturally didn't want to play the 3rd male lead, but he had previously said that he especially liked Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. As long as there was a chance to act, he would be very happy to act. Lan Che was so smart that he definitely wouldn't do something like this that would embarrass the company and offend the higher-ups. "Lingyi, President Tan has taken a liking to you. I heard that you wanted to decline." On the other end of the phone, Sisterly said earnestly, "Actually, you've been in this circle for quite some time. You should know that this circle only looks at one's status. There's no such thing as eternal friends or worldly wisdom. Sisterly, I know. Lu Lingye explained tactfully. I'm just worried that I won't be able to handle both God of Light and Legend of the Phoenix Mountain. You don't have to worry about the schedule. Sisterly said, I will arrange it. All you have to do is focus on filming. I know, Sisterly. Lu Lingye said with some guilt. I won't make decisions on my own in the future. Then I won't hinder you. Okay, Sisterly. The moment Lu Lingye hung up the phone, Luo Qingxun blinked and clapped her hands. Sisterly is right. Chapter 31:27. I think Sisterly is right. Luo Qingxun raised her eyebrows slightly and said, Boss, you are too considerate of other people's feelings. Those people are wolves, tigers, and leopards. It's not worth it. Okay. Lu Lingye stopped the car and turned to look at Luo Qingxun and said, Why don't you fill your stomach first? Luo Qingxun sighed softly in her heart and did not nag Lu Lingye anymore. She understood Lu Lingye more or less. There was a scale in his heart that balanced his worldview and his kindness. Some things were just rumors, but seeing was believing. Originally, she wanted to force Lan Che to leave, but now she had another plan in her heart. She wanted Lu Lingye to see with his own eyes what a black-hearted person his good friend and good colleague was. Half an hour later, the table was filled with all kinds of Japanese food. Sashimi, caviar, crab salad, bread crab. Looking at the dazzling array of food, she suddenly felt that she had to protect this person well. They had only known each other for less than 48 hours, but Lu Lingye was really good to her. However, Luo Qingxun knew very well that this kind of kindness had nothing to do with the so-called love between men and women. This was the first time she met such a big star. He was so handsome, but he was so good to everyone. Whether this person was a friend or a stranger for the first time, after tea and dinner, Lu Lingye wanted to send her home directly. But just as he was about to leave, his phone rang. The caller was Lan Che. Finally, it came 2 days before he was to enter the set of God of Light. This man named Lan Che used all his means to bribe several media outlets and planned to kill Lu Lingye. Lingye, I'm at CC Bar. I feel a little sad. Can you come over and have a drink with me? Lan Che's tone was very depressed over the phone, and he vividly portrayed his miserable side. Lu Lingye frowned slightly and glanced at Luo Qingxun. Then he said, Okay, but you have to wait for a moment. I have to send my assistant home. Assistant? Lan Che seemed to think for a moment before remembering Luo Qingxun's appearance. He immediately said, Okay. Take her home first. It's not good for a girl to go to a bar so late at night. The reason why Lan Che said this was because if Luo Qingxun went with them, it would easily affect his plan. Naturally, he was worried. Therefore, he pretended to be a gentleman and asked Lu Lingye to send her home first. However, she could see through this little trick at a glance. Okay, Lu Lingye nodded and said, I'll call you when I arrive. From the moment he picked up the phone to the end, Luo Qingxun didn't say a word. Lu Lingye looked into her clear eyes and said in embarrassment, I'm going to see how he's doing. Ahem. Luo Qingxun cleared her throat and said, Didn't the boss just say got it? A second ago, he seriously promised Sister Li and her not to meddle in other people's business. The next second, Lan Che called to complain and completely forgot about his previous promise. People who didn't know would think that Lu Lingye had been in love with Lan Che for many years, and that it was because of love that she was so caring for Lan Che. But in fact, Luo Qingxun knew that wasn't the case. Perhaps, deep in his heart, he didn't want to go to CC Bar. Chapter 31:28. Hearing Luo Qingxun's words, Lu Lingye felt a little embarrassed. After all, not long ago, he promised his little assistant that he wouldn't meddle in Lan Che's affairs. The next second, Lu Lingye sighed and said, I just think that he should be in a bad mood. He obviously has the strength and acting skills to be the first male lead, but he doesn't even have the chance to be the second male lead. Anyone who had watched Legend of the Phoenix Mountain knew that the third male lead's character was really unlikable and didn't have many scenes. This kind of character not only didn't bring popularity, but also gave the netizens a preconceived idea. Even if he had the opportunity to be the male lead in the future, it would be difficult to become popular unless it was a very good script. This kind of thing often happened in the entertainment industry, and everyone had a tacit understanding. Now that Lan Che had set a flag. Even if he didn't want the role, he had to act in the spirit of acting for the sake of acting. Are you sure he has the strength and acting skills? Luo Qingchun shrugged and chuckled. Okay. Taking a step back, even if he has a little acting skills, he doesn't have the looks. I'm not talking about the current appearance association or anything, unless your acting skills have reached the pinnacle and can make the audience ignore your acting skills. If not, the looks are very important, okay? It was reasonable to say that although Lan Che's looks couldn't be compared to a passerby, any passerby who looked better could be compared, okay? He had been unable to break away from being a small star in the entertainment industry, not because Lu Lingye stopped him, but because of his looks. Qingshun, okay. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, I won't say much. You are my boss, and I can't stop you if you want to go. Then you have to be careful when you go to the bar. I won't accompany you. Don't worry. Lu Lingye looked at her dotingly and said, I won't take you to the bar. Luo Qingshun sighed helplessly. There was an indescribable feeling. She had never had this feeling before. Perhaps Lu Lingye's personality and hers were two extremes. However, being kind wasn't wrong. Instead, she hoped that there would be more kind people in this world. At least this way, kind people wouldn't be too lonely. After paying the bill, Lu Lingye sent her home. They still stopped a few hundred meters away from the villa, but this time, Luo Qingshun didn't go back. Instead, she took a taxi and followed Lu Lingye all the way to CC Bar. It was 10 o'clock at night, the time when the bar was just starting to get lively. CC Bar was a very famous bar in City A. It was not cheap, and most of the people who could go there were famous people, or have money. As a celebrity, Lu Lingye was still in disguise when she got out of the car. She wore a hat and a mask. But just based on those eyes, Luo Qingchun could recognize him with a single glance. In order not to be discovered, she also went to the clothing store next to the bar to change her clothes and buy a mask and a hat. He sat at the table next to Lu Lingye's and ordered the cheapest cocktail in CC Bar, Blue Enchantress. 1,200 for a cup was indeed cheap, but it was worth it for her boss to see the person in front of her clearly. There were many people in CC Bar, and it was the weekend, so the flow of people was even more. Luo Qingxin knew that there must be a lot of media around Lu Lingye, and they were ready to carry out the plan. Chapter 31:29. Hello, brother. Boss is in trouble. Come to CC Bar. Luo Qingmu was the first to ask for help. After all, Luo Qingmu had troubled him a lot. He had asked Chen Shanmei out more than once or twice. Luo Qingmu was furious. He gritted his teeth and said, I'm on a date. A date. It was not easy for his goddess to agree to watch a movie with him. Luo Qingmu did not want to go to CC Bar at all. Ahem. Luo Qingshun cleared her throat and said, Brother, let me tell you something. If something happens to Boss and we can't go back to the Moon Soul Planet, I think your goddess Shanmei will not let you go. Moon Soul Planet was the planet they were originally on. Luo Qingshun had always thought that the name of this planet was very nice. At least it was not bad. At that moment, Luo Qingmu felt like she was going crazy. Of course, she knew that protecting Lu Lingye was more important than watching a movie. However, she was still fuming with rage. Stop talking to me. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, If you don't come, I'll call Sister Shanmei myself. Is this Qingshun? Chen Shanmei's voice came from the other end of the phone. She blinked and said, What happened? Actually, Luo Qingmu wanted to find an excuse, but he could not pretend that nothing had happened and watch a movie leisurely. He could only give a deep sigh. That girl Qingshun wanted me to go to the CC Bar. Something seemed to have happened to Lu Lingye who Dad had her protect. That's business. Chen Shanmei stood up immediately and said, I'll go with you. Luo Qingmu was angry at first, but when he saw Chen Shanmei stand up so decisively, his heart sank. His heart thumped loudly, and he felt as if it was about to shatter. You really don't want to watch a movie with me? He said in a low voice. He looked hurt. Chen Shanmei was stunned. She smiled gently and said, "We can watch a movie anytime. We have business to attend to." "Really?" A faint guang flashed across Luo Qingmu's eyes. He looked at her and said, "Can I ask you out for a movie?" In the next second, Chen Shanmei lowered her eyes slightly and said after a long time, "Okay." There had always been a door in her heart that she had shut herself in a long time ago. For one person, for one person, for one person, so many years had passed. She knew that person wouldn't come back, but she still waited. But now, there was an amazing person in front of him. She wondered if she should let go of the past and give herself a chance. "All right, let's go together." Chen Shanmei would never know that there were tears in Luo Qingmu's eyes when she said that. It was a feeling that came from the bottom of his heart, an indescribable feeling. 15 minutes later, Luo Qingmu arrived at CC Bar. Luo Qingchun spoke of her plan in a small voice and had him act immediately. 1. Find all the media reporters in the bar. 2. Find a way to switch Lu Lingye's and Lan Che's drinks. It was true that she wanted to teach Lan Che a lesson. It was also true that she wanted Lu Lingye to see that Lan Che was a real person. It was also true that she would not let off those reporters who were in cahoots. Chapter 31:30. The company really disappointed me this time. Lan Che drank a glass of wine and said, "Brother Lingye, why don't I leave this industry?" Lu Lingye saw that he was depressed and comforted him. "Don't say that. I always thought that you were suitable for this industry." After all, they were colleagues in the same company. Lu Lingye couldn't bear to see Lan Che like this. However, he didn't know what kind of insidious person was hiding behind that depressed face. Beep beep. Just as Luo Qingxian was listening to their conversation, her phone rang. It was a message from Luo Qingmu. "There are 3 media outlets in total. I'm afraid I can't touch the wine." Luo Qingmu. It was difficult for Luo Qingmu, who had lost her energy body, to do this. "Take Sister Shanmei for a drink. Help me keep an eye on the media. I'll take care of the rest." Luo Qingxian. Lan Che's voice came from next door again. He wailed, Why are you so lucky, Brother Lingye? You have all the good resources in the company. Sisterly also favors you. But I worked so hard, but in the end I got nothing. Do you think it's fair?" Lan Che. "Brother Lingye, drink with me." Lan Che pushed the wine in front of him and said, "I know you don't drink. Just treat it as drinking with me. Let me have a friend to talk to." The word friend probably touched a chord in Lu Lingye's heart. He took a deep breath and took the wine glass. "If the shooting a God of Light goes well, I will recommend you to Sisterly again. I know you are capable. Trust me, gold will always shine." Hearing Lu Lingye's words, Luo Qingxian didn't leave and sneered. In fact, in the original owner's world, she wasn't surprised that the male lead had such an ending. In a place like the entertainment industry, if one didn't even have the most basic defense against others, she felt that perhaps Lu Lingye was really not suitable for the entertainment industry. "AI, how should I save you, my boss?" Luo Qingchan gave a sigh and snapped her fingers, freezing everything around her. Luo Qingchan walked to the side and exchanged 2 glasses of wine for a seat. Then she sat back in her seat and snapped her fingers again. Everything returned to normal. Lu Lingye and Lan Che were like good brothers. They toasted each other and drank the wine in their cups. The result was both of them were sprawled on the table. Lan Che was sprawled on the table because of the drugs in the wine, while Lu Lingye was a light drinker. This was also the most important reason why he never drank, because he would collapse after 1 glass. In the next second, Luo Qingxian snapped her fingers again and froze everything around her. Although this incident caused her to use her ability more frequently, it was worth it to let Lu Lingye see what kind of person Lan Che was. In the next 3 minutes, she quickly changed Lu Lingye's and Lan Che's clothes, masks, and hats in the limited time she had. Then, she picked up Lan Che's phone and unlocked it with his fingerprint. She opened the first chat box on WeChat. Luo Qingmu's investigation was right. There were indeed 3 media companies in the chat. Although the original owner didn't have any memory of the bar experience, she knew the result and knew what despicable methods they used to harm Lu Lingye. In an instant, she typed a line of words on Lan Che's phone. Chapter 31:31. When she activated the space-time freeze again, she had already carried Lu Lingye to the private room next door. The light in the bar was warm. His eyes were closed, and his long eyelashes looked especially beautiful under the warm light. The surroundings were noisy again. In Luo Qingqian's opinion, the noise might not be enough for this tipsy young man. In her mind, Lu Lingye should be an elegant man playing the piano in a vast sea of flowers. Yes, elegant. This word really suited him. Beep beep. Luo Qingmu's message came in. They brought the fake Lu Lingye to the private room upstairs. Luo Qingmu. Luo Qingqian glanced at Lu Lingye and quickly replied, "You and Shanmei follow me first. Give me the location. I'll be right there." Luo Qingqian. She put the phone in her pocket and looked at Lu Lingye quietly. She put the mint candy in his mouth. In the next second, he frowned and slowly opened his eyes. "Am I drunk? Qingqian, didn't you go home? Why are you here?" To be honest, Luo Qingqian couldn't help but feel that Lu Lingye was a little cute when he looked at his confused face. "If I didn't come, boss, you might have been bullied." Luo Qingqian felt that the phone in her pocket was startled. She continued, "I'll take you to see what kind of a beast your so-called good colleague and good friend is." Lu Lingye naturally didn't understand what Luo Qingqian meant. But 10 minutes later, when he stood at the corner and heard the conversation between the three media, he completely understood. When will that woman come? I don't know if Lan Che drugged her enough. It won't be good if she wakes up. Don't worry. A reporter wearing a denim jacket and holding a camera said, "Lan Che is a decent person. He has exposed so many scandals for us before. Every time he did so, it was enough. The woman has already sent me a WeChat message. She's in the elevator and asked us to wait for a while." Luo Qingqian narrowed her eyes, which flashed with a touch of coldness. If it wasn't for the fact that she wanted Lu Lingye to watch the entire show, she would have taken care of the three reporters immediately. Although he didn't want to kill them, he didn't want them to have an easy time either. What do they mean by this? Lu Lingye frowned. Lan Che found the media? Where is he now? Boss, since you want to know the truth so much, why don't we go ahead and see for ourselves? Luo Qingqian pointed at the corner ahead and said, "My brother and his goddess are just ahead. Let's go." Qingqian. A second later, Lu Lingye gently grabbed her wrist. Boss. Luo Qingqian raised her eyebrows and said, "Sometimes you already have the answer deep in your heart. It's just that you don't want to face it." In an instant, she pretended to be a big sister. She stood on her tiptoes and raised her hand to pat Lu Lingye's head. "Boss, you have to learn how to face the dark forces. Only then can your heart become stronger." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 20%. Actually, it was her first time doing this kind of role play, so there was a strange feeling in her heart. It felt like a young woman saving a young boy from the fire and water. Chapter 31:32. Actually, she had spent so much effort to let Lu Lingye see Lan Che's true colors. On the other hand, she wanted to teach him a lesson so that he would not act rashly in the future. Otherwise, he would not be as simple as a small-time celebrity. However, Luo Qingqian had calculated the first day of the month, but not the 15th. "Qingqian, over here." Luo Qingqian bent down and held Lu Lingye's hand as she walked forward carefully to meet them. However, in the next second, Chen Shanmei turned her attention to Lu Lingye with a swoosh. You, is it you?" Chen Shanmei did not care that Luo Qingqian was in front of Lu Lingye. She rushed to Lu Lingye's side and grabbed his arm tightly. Is that you, see? I'm Shanmei." Lu Lingye was stunned and took a step back awkwardly. However, the place where he stepped back was behind Luo Qingqian. Moreover, his hands had suddenly grabbed Luo Qingqian's wrist. Cough, cough. At this moment, Luo Qingqian felt awkward. She cleared her throat and said, "Do you know each other?" "Yes." "No." Both of them spoke at the same time, but it seemed like they were trying to express opposites. Luo Qingmu frowned and looked to the side. "You guys talk first. I'll settle the rest of the media." "Brother." "Hey, brother." Luo Qingshun did not know why Luo Qingmu was so quick to dodge. In the past, whenever a handsome guy approached Shanmei, he would always be the first to stand in front of her. What was going on today? Let's love. Sister Shanmei. Luo Qingshun could not control Luo Qingmu in this situation. She laughed awkwardly and said, "The CE you mentioned is the Prince of Lunar Soul Planet, CE." Tears welled up in Chun Shanmei's eyes. Her lips trembled as she said, "I won't get it wrong. I definitely won't get it wrong." How many people in this world could have such a beautiful face? In fact, they looked exactly the same. It turned out that CE had never died. He had only accidentally landed on this planet. It turned out that he had always been alive. CE. Luo Qingshun slightly knit her brows. But he's someone from this place. Looking at Chen Shanmei's expression, Luo Qingshun didn't think that she would make a mistake. Moreover, Lu Lingye's face was too iconic, so it was almost impossible to mistake her for someone else. Was he really the prince of the Lunar Soul Planet? She didn't have much of an impression of CE in the original owner's world, but that didn't mean she didn't know him. He was the man with the strongest superpower in the Lunar Soul Planet. Not many people had seen him before. However, there were many rumors about his temperament. He was cold, murderous, decisive. To be more precise, he was an emotionless and cold man. However, this man and Lu Lingye's personality were like heaven and earth. I won't get it wrong. He has been missing for so many years. Chun Shanmei closed her eyes and opened them again. Tears fell from her eyes. She bit her lips and said, "I'm very sure that he is CE." Luo Qingshun knit her brows a bit awkwardly. When she wanted to say something, Luo Qingmu came over from not far away. He was expressionless. One couldn't tell if he was happy, angry, or sad. However, from his eyes, one could feel a tinge of sadness. Chapter 31-33. Boss, I'm here to protect you, 17. I've taken care of everything. Luo Qingmu handed Luo Qingshun a folder and said, "The first is evidence of Lan Che fooling around. The second is the nude photos of the 3 media men." Ah! Luo Qingshun was stunned. She widened her eyes and said, "Brother, you've taken care of everything?" Logically speaking, Luo Qingmu should be the kind of person who procrastinates, whether in the mind of the original owner or in her mind. But this time, why was she so fast? She had not even thought of how to deal with the 3 media men, and Luo Qingmu had already left evidence. Luo Qingmu responded faintly. Her gaze fell on Lu Lingye. She said with a gloomy face, "Be careful. That Lan Che wanted to take photos of you fooling around with the girls in the bar. If it wasn't for Qingshun, your dream of being a star would have ended today." "Brother," Luo Qingshun frowned and said, "Don't say that. I'm too lazy to say it." Luo Qingmu looked away and put her hands in her pockets. "I'm leaving." She did not wait for Luo Qingshun's reply. She did not even ask Lan Che. She turned and walked towards the other end of the corridor. She did not even look back. She did not know why. But looking at Luo Qingmu's back, she could not help but feel depressed. This kind of depression came from the depths of her heart. Words could not describe it. Cough, cough, cough. Luo Qingshun coughed dryly and said, "Boss, the matter has been settled. I'll post Lan Che's photos on the internet. As for the media men, since I've already got something on them, they won't dare to do anything." Actually, she was not afraid of the 3 media men. After all, the matter itself was not glorious. If it's exposed, will he? Even under such circumstances, Lu Lingye was still hesitant. He was not a fool. The situation was so obvious. He knew very well that Lan Che had invited him to the bar tonight to ruin his reputation. Sisterly, and she were right. Lan Che was not a friend, but an enemy. But, boss, he has already harmed you like this, and you still want to protect him? Luo Qingshun showed a very helpless expression and said, "If you cover up for him, you'll just fall out with him and not be friends anymore. But with his current status as an artist, he will definitely hurt more people." An opponent of equal strength was not scary. What was scary was a villain who added insult to injury. But Lan Che belonged to the latter. Little did she know that in the next second, Before Lu Lingye could say anything, Chen Shanmei roared at her, "I won't allow you to talk about Si Yejuan like that." At this moment, Luo Qingxin and Lu Lingye were both stunned. The two of them looked at each other and revealed an expression of being caught off guard. Let me say it. Although Lu Lingye didn't fully understand Chen Shanmei's meaning, she could roughly understand it from her words. At this time, he suddenly felt a sense of protection in his heart. He wanted to protect the girl who had just been yelled at for no reason. "Miss, I think you've got the wrong person." Lu Lingye turned his eyes and said, "I'm not the Si Yejuan you're talking about. My name is Lu Lingye, a mediocre actor. I won't get it wrong." She looked at Lu Lingye seriously and said, "I'm so respectful of someone. I won't get it wrong." "Sister Shanmei." Luo Qingxin's eyes trembled and said, "Wait for you to say that Si Yejuan didn't die and only left the soul bracelet in the wormhole? Do you know what the soul bracelet means to us?" Good night. End of chapter. Chapter 31-34. The entire book. Qingxun. Chen Shanmei took a deep breath and looked at Luo Qingxin. "I was rude just now. Please don't be angry. I was too agitated. I thought he was already—" "I know." Luo Qingxun thought for a while and said, "We have to think about this in the long run. Sister Shanmei, you go home first. I'll contact you after I find out more about this. Okay?" At this moment, Luo Qingxun felt depressed and helpless. She felt like a love rival appeared out of nowhere, and this love rival was not a bad person. This feeling was very unpleasant. "Okay? But, big sister Shanmei." Luo Qingxun seriously shook her head. Chen Shanmei naturally couldn't understand the meaning in her eyes. It did not matter if Lu Lingye was the lunar soul planet Si. Even if he was, he did not have any memories of his past. Rashly mentioning so many sharp and strange words in front of a person from this planet was not a rational behavior. Okay. Chen Shanmei knew that even if she could take Lu Lingye away by force, Lu Lingye would not agree to it. She had no other choice but to go back and wait for Luo Qingxin's reply. "Sister Shanmei, brother. I don't have the energy to care about your brother now." Chen Shanmei roared. "I really don't have the energy to care about him now." Her roar did not scare Luo Qingxun, but it scared Lu Lingye. Chen Shanmei seemed to realize that she had lost her composure. She tried to adjust her emotions and looked at Lu Lingye. Can I have your phone number?" Lu Lingye didn't even think as she turned to Luo Qingxun. "You can ask my assistant about this." The next second, Chen Shanmei's face showed an awkward expression. She pursed her lips and said, "Okay, Sister Shanmei, we'll go back first. I still have to deal with the follow-up matters here." Luo Qingxun looked at Lu Lingye. She nodded at him seriously. It seemed that Lu Lingye could not even be a gentleman to Chen Shanmei. Instead, he was more resistant. But it was normal. Chen Shanmei was so agitated on their first meeting. It was inevitable that she would scare people. "Okay." Chen Shanmei took a deep breath and nodded. "Don't let the person who wants to harm see you off." "Don't worry." Luo Qingxin nodded. "As long as you don't, boss, I'll give him a taste of his own medicine." As soon as she finished speaking, she glanced at Lu Lingye as though she was waiting for his response. He said, "You decide." "Then many thanks, boss." Luo Qingxun pursed her lips into a smile that was hard to hide. Perhaps people were like this. The more kind they were with, the happier they would feel. Lu Lingye unconsciously raised his hand and gently patted her head. "You're welcome." This simple action, Luo Qingxun was a bit used to it, but to Chen Shanmei, it was a kind of suffocating action. She felt her heart thump. It was an indescribable pain. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Luo Qingxun asked Sister Li to send someone to deal with the aftermath of the bar. As for Lan Che's photo, she spread it through other channels. Although Lan Che was just a small celebrity, this kind of thing always attracted a lot of attention. Overnight, this so-called small celebrity became the first trending topic in his life. Chapter 31-35. The whole book. When Lan Che woke up again, he found himself in a hotel. He was naked, but there was a line of words written on his back with a black pen. "Villains will be punished." He looked at his phone almost immediately. It was already 8 o'clock the next morning. What's going on? What the hell happened? Yesterday. Yesterday, didn't I prepare everything to send Lulinya to hell? How did it suddenly become like this? What exactly happened? The next second, he turned on his phone and called one of the media people he had worked with before. After a few beeps, the call was immediately hung up. He gritted his teeth angrily and called the second person. The process was very similar, and the end was also very similar. After 2 beeps, the call was hung up. F***CK. Lanche roared. Pick up the F***king phone. After swearing at me, he dialed the third person's number. This time, the call didn't end after 2 beeps. Instead, it was picked up after a few beeps. However, the total time of the call was only a short 5 seconds. Don't call me anymore. Star Media has closed down. The man on the other end of the phone said angrily. I picked up because we have worked together many times. Go and see the news yourself. Big Bear, Big Bear. Beep, 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 beep. He wanted to say something, but the reporter called Big Bear had already hung up. Lanche turned on his phone in a panic. As soon as he opened the social media platform, he found that he was the first trending topic. Star Media's artist, Lanche, is intimate with a woman in a bar. Be careful. Lanche's hands trembled as he flipped through the pictures page by page. His whole body was covered in cold sweat. Weren't these the surprises he had prepared for Lulinya? How did it become him? Could it be that Lulinya knew about his scheme and took precautions in advance, so he ended up checkmating him? No, impossible. If that was the case, Lulinya didn't have to come. Why would he take the risk to come to a place like CC Bar? Moreover, with his weak personality, how could he do such a thing? Could it be sisterly? But he was rather cautious about this matter this time. Elder sister Lee was usually so busy, so it should be impossible for her to know. Who was that? Who is it? Lanche couldn't care less. He immediately picked up the clothes on the ground and put them on. He was ready to go to the company to question Lulinya. Unexpectedly, as soon as he opened the door, he saw Luo Qingshun waiting for him at the door for a long time. It seems that Mr. Lan slept well last night. Luo Qingshun glanced at her watch, and a faint mocking smile appeared on her lips. I slept until 8 in the morning. I wonder if I had any good dreams? You. Who are you? Lanche staggered back in fright. His clothes were already disheveled, and now he looked even more like a man at the end of his rope. Tisk tsk tisk. Luo Qingshun half leaned on the promenade with her arms crossed. She looked at him and said, It seems that Mr. Lan's amnesia is quite serious. You are. Lanche frowned, as if he was seriously thinking about it. He looked at Luo Qingshun and said, You are Lulinya's new assistant. Although they had only met once, this assistant was really good-looking, so she left an impression in his mind. However, it couldn't be a good thing for her to come here so early. Chapter 31-36. Reading on mobile phone, what's wrong? Are you here to show off the joy of your victory through despicable means? After asking this question, Lanche's hand moved in his jacket pocket. He pressed the recording button and said, Are you very happy? Luo Qingshun's eyes instantly darkened. She looked at him coldly and said, Lanche, if you think I'm here today just to show off the joy of victory, then you're wrong. Lanche didn't know why, but at this moment, he felt an inexplicable fear. This feeling of fear surrounded him layer by layer, making his hand that was holding the recording device tightly break out in a cold sweat. So what are you here for? Lanche swallowed his saliva. No matter how scared he was, he had to pretend to be very calm on the surface. He looked at Luo Qingshun and said, But no matter what you're here for, I think I'm here to tell you that I don't care what dirty means you use to make trouble for Lulinya. But in the future, Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes and directly interrupted Lanche. Her whole body emitted bursts of coldness. She said coldly, I'll protect him. You'll protect him? Lanche was inexplicably nervous, but after hearing these words, he suddenly snorted disdainfully. An insignificant assistant came to stop him early in the morning just to say a few words, but in the end he recorded it all. Such a retarded action wouldn't survive for more than 2 days in the entertainment industry. Okay? She still wanted to protect Lulinya. Based on her character and behavior, She probably wanted to go to hell with Lu Lingye instead of protecting him. Luo Qingchun heard this, and her lips curled into a taunting smile. It seems like you have objections to my words. The next second, Lan Che nodded confidently. He took out the recording device from his pocket and waved it at Luo Qingchun proudly and confidently. He said, "Do you know what this is? Do you know what it looks like after I go back and edit it? Do you know what kind of response it will have on the internet?" In an instant, Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes. The tape recorder in Lan Che's hand suddenly emitted a sizzling sound, followed by white smoke. "Ah!" Lan Che cried out in alarm. He felt as if his palm had been electrocuted, and a bone-piercing pain instantly spread throughout his entire body. He suddenly threw down the recorder in his hand, his left hand grabbing his right wrist. He looked at Lu Qingchun in disbelief and said, What did you do? Why did the recording device suddenly malfunction? It was as if someone had cast a spell on it. But how was that possible? His eyes were filled with all kinds of complicated emotions: fear, confusion, unwillingness, and anger. But even with so many emotions, there was nothing he could do. This was because he didn't know why the recording device had suddenly malfunctioned. Among those emotions, the one he felt the most was fear. Yes, he was scared. You can make a guess as to what I did. Luo Qingchun narrowed her cold eyes and put her hands in the pockets of her coat. The corners of her mouth curved into an extremely cold smile as she said to Lan Che, "But you will never have the chance to take revenge on Lu Lingye in this lifetime, because he has me." As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchun turned around without hesitation and walked forward. The air was filled with a faint burnt smell. Her purpose of coming here was to tell Lan Che. From the moment she appeared by Lu Lingye's side, she wouldn't let anyone hurt him. Along the way, he had protected her in too many worlds. In this world, she would protect him. This book came from Chapter 31-37. Reading on his phone. After a long time, Lan Che finally came back to his senses. He didn't know why he stood there for so long. He only knew that he suddenly lost all his strength. Fighting spirit, revenge, turning over a new leaf. It seemed that after Luo Qingchun appeared, all these feelings disappeared. All that was left was tiredness and tiredness. Just when he didn't know what he should do, his phone rang. It was a call from Tanyu. "Lan Che, you haven't come to the company, and no one wants to wait for you. Actually, it doesn't matter if you come or not. The company has already made the decision. You can go to the HR department to terminate your contract." "President Tan, it's not like that," Lan Che desperately explained. "Listen to me. Beep, 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 beep." Unfortunately, just as he said the word explain, the phone directly hung up. Lan Che felt his legs go soft and his whole body collapse. It seemed that this time he was really done for. His journey in the entertainment industry, his acting career, was completely over. Xingchen Agency, Sister Li's office. Qingchen already told me about what happened this time. Luckily, it was scary but not dangerous. We even managed to turn the tables on our opponents, Sister Li said happily. "Lingye, from now on, you can enter God of Light with peace of mind." Lu Lingye gently frowned and asked helplessly, "So Lan Che can't act anymore?" He always felt that this kind of punishment was too heavy for an actor who had just debuted. "Zero Yi." Big Sister Li looked into his eyes and said in a serious voice, "Do you know that if it wasn't for Qingchun preparing ahead of time, you would be the #1 trending today? Do you think Lan Che would sympathize with you?" Lu Lingye gave a sigh and looked over at Luo Qingchun, as if she wanted to get some support from her. But she never thought that Luo Qingchun would raise her hands and clap twice. I feel that Big Sister Li's words are reasonable. Actually, Lu Lingye couldn't be blamed. After all, Lan Che had never directly fallen out with him. In the past, whether it was on set or in the company, Lan Che would always call him Brother Lingye. No matter how sinister and cunning he was, it was impossible to tell just by looking at his appearance. Luo Qingchun wasn't a bird's-eye view, but Lu Lingye was not. Although she felt that her boss was still a little too kind, there were some things that she wasn't him. She couldn't completely understand his feelings. "All right." Lu Lingye shook his head helplessly and showed an expression of surrender. "I'll listen to you. After this incident, I feel that Qingchun's presence will make me feel at ease." Elder sister Li looked at her and smiled. I really didn't misjudge her. I have the same idea as sisterly. Lu Lingya looked at Luo Qingshan with appreciation and said, I also think she is great. She could always bring him inexplicable surprises. Then you should reward your assistant well. Sisterly looked at the time and said, I still have to go to the headquarters for a meeting. You guys can relax today. You will be joining the cast tomorrow. Okay. Lu Lingye raised his eyebrows slightly and said softly, I'll take her out for a meal and familiarize her with the cast. Luo Qingshan thought that Lu Lingye would take her out for a big meal. She didn't expect him to take her to the supermarket and go home to cook for her. She had to admit that Lu Lingye was really different. This book came from Chapter 31-38. Reading on her phone. Fried shredded pork with green peppers, stir-fried green beans, sirloin beef, boiled fish, curry shrimp, and tomato egg soup. It was a small fry, but when it was placed on the table, she felt her stomach grumble nonstop. Boss, you actually know how to cook? Luo Qingshan expressed that other than being kind, her boss was also a warm man. It really wasn't easy. I live by myself, so I cook occasionally. Lu Lingye finished the meal and handed it to her. You'll be joining the crew with me tomorrow. Life on the crew isn't that good, and I'm acting as the second male lead. You might not know that I don't have a good relationship with the male lead, He Jingxian. Actually, if the one who framed him was He Jingxian, you wouldn't be that surprised. After all, their companies were competitors, and the two of them were rookies that the company focused on training. Now that he was acting as the second male lead, he would definitely be bullied. He didn't want Luo Qingshan to be bullied with him. I know, Luo Qingshan said with trembling brows. Be assured, boss. I will protect you. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 30%. The word protect seemed to carry a heavy weight, but it also seemed to carry warmth. Coming from a girl's mouth, it gave Lu Lingye a very strange feeling. I'm worried that you won't be used to it. I'm a man. I don't need a little girl to protect me. Lu Lingye looked at her and said, It's fine as long as you don't get bullied. Luo Qingshan thought in her heart, Who would dare bully me? Boss, don't be too Mary Sue. Although she thought this in her heart, she didn't say this on the surface. Boss, be assured, I will pay attention. Luo Qingshan said this while taking 2 bites of the sirloin beef on the table. Boss's cooking is really good. Then eat a bit more. You can only eat boxed meals when you get to the crew. All right, no problem. Actually, this feeling wasn't bad. She could cook a table of dishes in her free time and then enjoy the food, enjoying a moment of peace. Luo Qingshan never thought that Lan Che's downfall was the end of the matter, but she didn't expect a new storm to come so soon. The next morning, the crew of God of Light drove them to the airport. Because the Light God's filming location was in the highlands, many people were lacking in oxygen or were not acclimatized to the environment as soon as they got off the bus. The most serious one was the female lead of Light God, Li Xiaoyu. After being here for so long, this was the first time she had seen the supporting female lead on the bronze panel. She had long and curly hair, big eyes, thick eyelashes, and heavy makeup. Her skin didn't look very good, and even the thick foundation couldn't hide the deep dark circles under her eyes. Li Xiaoyu was considered an A-list celebrity in the entertainment industry, which was the so-called group of people at the top of the pyramid. Although there was some negative news because Red Rice Company did a good job in public relations, they were always safe. Li Xiaoyu's impression to the outside world was cute, girlish, youthful, and full of vitality. But in reality, her personality was not like that. Everyone in the industry knew that the extent to which she threw her weight around was far more exaggerated than the older generation of artists. No matter which production team she was in, she was like a queen. This time was no exception. Director, why did you come to such a place to film? Li Xiaoyu complained while breathing in oxygen. Are you trying to kill me? This book came from Chapter 31-39. Reading on mobile, phone. Li Xiaoyu had always been mean, and no one dared to offend her. Xiaoyu, anyway, we'll start shooting tomorrow. Go back to the hotel and have a rest. Ning Sheng looked at her and said, I'll arrange a time for you to start shooting. Oh, okay. Li Xiaoyu still looked very impatient. When she turned around and left, she didn't forget to say, "Why do we have to use the real scene? Can't we just use some pictures? It's not like there are no post-production and special effects." Everyone looked at each other. Although they were very disgusted by Li Xiaoyou's words, they couldn't say anything because she was an A-list star. Luo Qingshun was also very uncomfortable with this kind of altitude sickness. After all, this body was not her body. She couldn't do anything if her body couldn't stand it. Lu Lingye seemed to feel her uncomfortable expression. He stepped forward and touched her head gently. "Are you very uncomfortable?" It was the first time for her to be on a set, and it was normal for her to be uncomfortable in such a high place. "It's okay." Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and patted her chest twice. "It's just a little hard to breathe." "Director," Lu Lingye asked politely, "can we go back to the hotel first? I have some altitude sickness." Pretending to be delicate on the first day, He Jingxian looked at him coldly and said, "Xiao Yu is a girl. Are you also a girl?" He Jingshuan's tone was quite bad. Not only was it sarcastic, but it was also aggressive. "It's okay. It's inevitable that everyone doesn't like the altitude climate." The director waved his hand and said, "Go back to the hotel and have a rest. I'll let the scene control inform everyone about the next work." Luo Qingchun slightly knit her brows as she looked at He Jingxian with a cold look in her eyes. Okay, they had just arrived at the destination, and they were already using their skills. Did they look so easy to bully? Let's wait and see who would have the last laugh in such a long shooting time. Mulberry Hotel. This was considered the best hotel in Tibet. Because every artist had an assistant, the rooms were all suites with 2 floors. Luo Qingchun returned to the hotel. After turning on the air conditioner, she felt that her breathing was much smoother. Lu Lingye looked at her pale face and said, "You should rest well in the hotel for the next 2 days. I can go to the scene myself." "How can that be?" Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, "The environment here isn't good, and I reckon there will be many places where I will be needed. Besides, they all have assistants. If the boss doesn't have one, they will have more to say. Let them say whatever they want." Lu Lingye shrugged indifferently and said, "I'm here to act, not to argue with them." "Oh, boss." Luo Qingshun rested her chin on one hand and said, "Boss, have you still not come to your senses after what happened with Lan Che? Just because you don't look for trouble with others doesn't mean that others won't look for trouble with you." But Lu Lingye's long eyelashes trembled slightly as a trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. "Do you mean that we should go find trouble with others?" "Yes. It can't be considered that." Luo Qingshun gave a sigh and said, "In short, in order to prevent them from playing tricks, other than bathing and sleeping, the rest of the time the boss has to be with me." This He Jingxian seemed to be stronger than Lan Che. If he wanted to deal with Lu Lingye, his methods would definitely be better than Lan Che's. She definitely couldn't let her guard down. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 40%. This book came from Chapter 3140. Reading on the mobile phone. Why did her boss suddenly add favorability points for her? Was there something wrong with what she said just now? Altogether, Lu Lingye's eyebrows trembled slightly, and the corners of his mouth curved into a faint smile. Okay, most of them were still not used to Tibet, but after staying in the hotel for a while, their mental state was much better. Luo Qingshun admired Lu Lingye for this. After all, his ability to adapt to Tibet was very strong. Boss seems to be very adapted to this environment. Luo Qingshun blinked and asked, "Have you been here before?" Lu Lingye shook his head gently and said, "I've never been to Tibet, but I've been to more difficult places because of filming. Artists have to adapt quickly to the environment. Otherwise, it would be a waste of the crew's resources, right?" When Luo Qingshun heard this, the corners of her mouth unconsciously curved into a faint smile. It was probably because she was often with such a person that she felt full of positive energy. Sure enough, kindness was contagious. After lunch, most of the people were already on the set, except for Li Xiaoyu. But her assistant and stunt double were on the set. "Director, Xiaoyu said that her altitude sickness is very serious. Let's use a stunt double first," Li Xiaoyu's assistant said. "I've already brought the stunt double." Stunt double? The director was obviously a little embarrassed. Because it was a fantasy film, most of the scenes needed to see the face of the person. If they only used a stunt double, many effects would be difficult to achieve in the later stages. Yes. The assistant raised her eyebrows and said, "Director, just do it this way. We know very well how valuable Xiaoyu is now. If she really gets sick, I'm afraid no one in the crew can afford to pay for it." As the saying goes, the assistant of a famous person has a higher status than an ordinary artist. Li Xiaoyu's assistant's tone was particularly arrogant. Okay, although the director was helpless, he couldn't say anything. With Li Xiaoyu's participation, the popularity of this film was obviously higher. Even if she wanted to act like a big shot, as the director, she couldn't do anything. In that case, we will film the scene between Jingxian and Zero Night in the afternoon, the director said after glancing at the notice. You have half an hour to prepare. Okay, director. Jingxian showed a very deliberate smile and said, I seem a little impatient. This was the scene where Jingxian hit Lu Lingye into the water with his air-splitting palm. This was also the scene where the two characters met for the first time. Although it was not very cold in December, it was already winter, so the water was naturally cold. The scene hadn't started yet. Looking at Jingxuan's expression, Luo Qingqian knew that he wouldn't let Lu Lingye off easily. Since that was the case, offense was the best defense. Luo Qingqian glanced at the glass marbles in the fish tank and had a plan in mind. All right, everyone get ready. Half an hour later, everyone gathered for the first time. Luo Qingqian held the glass marbles in the palm of her hand, waiting for Jingxian to make a move. When he said the words air, splitting palm, Luo Qingqian quickly flicked the glass marbles to his feet. In the next second, his feet slipped and he fell flat on his back. Ouch! Ka. Because Jingxian made a mistake first, Lu Lingye fell into the water. The director had already shouted cut before Lu Lingye fell into the water. This book came from Chapter 3141. Reading on mobile phone, what's wrong? The director frowned and said, what happened? Hitting the snake where it hurts. Luo Qingqian was certain that Jingxian's fall wouldn't be light. It was even difficult for him to stand up. His face was red with anger and he roared. Why are there glass marbles here? What the F***? In the next 10 seconds, Jingxian cursed, regardless of his image. Although the director accommodated Li Xiaoyu, it didn't mean that he would accommodate Jingxian. In his eyes, Jingxian was not a candidate for the first male lead. Now he had a bad scene in the first scene and kept cursing. The first impression he gave was really bad. Can you do it or not? The director looked at him angrily and said, if you can't do it, let's shoot this scene later, okay? Do you want to adjust it again? Jingxian naturally saw that the director was angry, and his anger was not entirely because of him. He probably blamed Li Xiaoyu's anger on him. He was really unlucky. This was the difference between the A-list and the B-list. If he were an A-list star, the director would not talk to him like this today. He originally wanted to make trouble for Lu Lingye and make him fall into the water several times. It seemed that if he didn't act well this time, director Ningxiang would really be angry. But it was really painful. His bones were about to fall apart. Looking at the change of Jingxuan's expression, Luo Qingqian could more or less guess what he was thinking. However, he was still a little inexperienced to bully her boss in front of her. No need, director. I can do it. Jingxian gritted his teeth and straightened his back. I must pass this time. Okay. Director Ningxiang nodded and said, let's do it again. Jingxian looked forward with a serious face and waved his hands forward. Air-splitting palm. It had to be said that Jingxuan's anger could be felt from his voice. It seemed that this small marble had infuriated him to no end. Because Jingxian had a bad fall, the shooting in the afternoon was unusually smooth. After all, he was already very uncomfortable and had no strength to make trouble for others. Half a day later, Director Ningxiang looked at everyone and said, today's shooting went very smoothly. Everyone worked hard. Everyone said in unison, thank you, director. All right. Ningxiang looked at Li Xiaoyu's assistant and said, go back and tell Li Xiaoyu that this movie is a very big IP. Too many doubles will easily affect the movie, and it will also affect her after the broadcast. If possible, Try not to use a stunt double. I understand Director Ning's words. The assistant, Meng Meng, smiled and said, I'll go back and pass the message to Sister Xiaoyu. She couldn't come today because of altitude sickness. She also feels guilty, so she sent a message just now. She will treat everyone to dinner at Mulberry Hotel tonight. Wow, that's great. Luo Qingshan was too lazy to pay attention to these people. She took a big towel and walked towards Lu Lingye. Thank you for your hard work, boss. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, although most of the scenes were passed in one take because the script developed this way, I still fell into the cold water. Idiot, what's wrong with that? Lu Lingye took the big towel and put it on her body. She smiled softly at her and said, this is what actors should do. Okay. Luo Qingshan nodded and said, let's go back to the hotel and take a shower, lest we catch a cold. Okay. Little did they know that just as they were about to leave, someone called out to Lu Lingye. This book came from Chapter 3142, reading on mobile phone. Well, Mr. Lu Lingye, can we take a picture together? Luo Qingshan and Lu Lingye turned around at the same time and saw a staff member with a camera. Okay. Lu Lingye accepted generously. It's just that I'm a little embarrassed now. It's okay. The staff member smiled and said, we all think that you are the most beautiful person in the entire entertainment industry. Even if you're embarrassed, you still look good. She didn't know why, but seeing Lu Lingye being surrounded by people, Luo Qingshan felt a kind of happy feeling in her heart. Sure enough, in the entertainment industry, without any background or acting skills, one's appearance was definitely something that made people remember you quickly. Lan Che hadn't been popular for so many years, and it had a lot to do with his appearance. He Jingxian, who was standing not far away, saw this scene. His deep eyes seemed to be burning with anger as he looked in Lu Lingye's direction. He was obviously the male lead, and his status was obviously higher than Lu Lingye's. Why didn't this group of staff members ask him for a picture, but ask Lu Lingye for a picture instead? Brother Xian, don't be angry. The assistant immediately said, even if we didn't succeed in getting Lu Lingye today, it doesn't mean that we can't do it tomorrow. You better shut up. He Jingxian coldly glanced at him and said, go and find out what happened to the marble today. How could it have been so coincidental? A marble had rolled to his side during the filming, causing him to fall and fall so miserably. It was a small matter that he couldn't get Lu Lingye, but it was a big matter that he lost his idol burden. Okay? He didn't dare to recall how he fell on his back at that time. It was too embarrassing, okay? Yes, Brother Xian, I'll go and find out. The assistant said bitterly, Miss Li's banquet is about to start. Why don't I go there first? All right. He Jingxian nodded proudly and said, Li Xiaoyu is very popular now. I can play a couple with her this time. If there can be a scandal and a couple, it will be of great benefit to me. As soon as his voice fell, He Jingxian walked in the direction of the hotel with his hands on his waist. At the same time, in Li Xiaoyu's room, Meng Meng told Li Xiaoyu what happened today. Li Xiaoyu narrowed her eyes and said, it seems that the director is not very satisfied with me. That's why Sister Xiaoyu is so amazing. The corners of Meng Meng's mouth curled up into a faint smile. Let's book a hotel and treat everyone to a meal. Even if they have something to say, they won't be able to say it. Treating them to a meal is enough to shut them up. One easy task. Li Xiaoyu sneered and said, I took advantage of the break in the afternoon to read the script. Since it's a fantasy drama, isn't there too much kissing scene? Moreover, she was filming a kissing scene with a B-list male celebrity, and she was also an absolute member of the Appearance Association. He Jingxian wasn't ugly, but he wasn't handsome either. Logically speaking, if she had to film a kissing scene, she would rather film it with Lu Lingye. After all, his looks were truly heaven-defying. Actually, when I read the script, I also felt that there were too many kissing scenes. Later, I asked director Ning Sheng. Meng Meng curled her lips. I heard that some of the kissing scenes were suggested by He Jingxian. He seemed to say that it could better match the tacit understanding between the male and female leads and increase their relationship. TSK, increase their relationship. Li Xiaoyu rolled her eyes and said, this excuse is really bad. If he wanted to kiss her, even if he didn't have a high status, he should at least have a good appearance. If he didn't have either, wouldn't he be a toad wanting to eat swan meat? This book came from Chapter 3143. Reading on mobile phone. Yes, yes. Ming Ming blinked shyly and said, it's probably because Jing Xian and Lu Lingye are in the crew at the same time. In front of Lu Lingye, Jing Xian really looks like a passerby. Isn't that so? Li Xiaoyou's eyebrows moved slightly and said, although Lu Lingye doesn't have any good works, his appearance alone has been on the hot search several times. If he has better works in the future, he will definitely be a super A-list artist. So, Sister Xiaoyu, what are you going to do? Meng Meng seemed to think of something and smiled. Today, Sister Fong also called and said that the popularity of the topic about me seems to have dropped a lot recently. Li Xiaoyu picked up the coffee at hand and took a sip. If I can be a couple with the most handsome man in the entertainment industry, it will definitely be big news. Meng Meng pouted and said, why do I feel that Lu Lingye is a bit lucky? In this way, his temperament and exposure will definitely increase. In fact, Meng Meng's words were not entirely from the standpoint of Li Xiaoyu. After all, in the minds of many people, Lu Lingye was a young man who was as clean as an iceberg. Since he entered the entertainment industry, he had never been a couple with any female artist, and he didn't have a girlfriend. It could be said that he really had no ex on the internet. Now that Li Xiaoyu wanted to be a couple with him, why did she feel that her Prince Charming was being tarnished? After all, as Li Xiaoyou's assistant, she was very clear that Li Xiaoyou's image on the screen was very different from her private image. She was not a domineering woman, but a female star with a messy private life, and she especially liked to keep male pets. So, Lu Lingye has no reason to refuse my suggestion. Li Xiaoyu glanced at the nail polish she had just done and said, I'm giving him a chance. He has to thank me properly. This kind of opportunity is not available to any Tom, Dick, or Harry. Ahem. Seeing Li Xiaoyou's decisive look, Meng Meng cleared her throat and said, Sister Xiaoyu is right. When should I ask Lu Lingye out for you? It's better to do it now. Li Xiaoyu smiled and said, tonight, at 8 o'clock in the evening. Everyone had already entered the Mulberry Hotel. Li Xiaoyu was very generous. The buffet dishes were the most expensive in the hotel. Because they had taken a shower at the hotel, it was already late when Lu Lingye brought Luo Qingchun to the hotel. Qingchun, you've worked hard today. After eating and drinking, go back and have a good sleep. Lu Lingye helped her choose the food and asked, can we eat seafood? Sure. Luo Qingchun picked up the cup in her hand and said, I'll go over there to pour the drinks. Boss, you take your things and find a seat. All right. Originally, he thought that since he had already dealt with the most difficult person to deal with today, there shouldn't be any problems. Unexpectedly, Lu Lingye suddenly disappeared while she was pouring the drinks for Lu Lingye. He didn't leave any instructions, nor did he leave any message. Luo Qingchun frowned. She didn't find her after a whole circle. When she was about to call, Li Xiaoyou's assistant stopped her. If you want to call Mr. Lu Lingye, I think it's better not to do it now. Meng Meng was relatively short. When she suddenly appeared, she was really shocked. What do you mean? She lowered her eyes slightly. After thinking quickly, she said, Li Xiaoyu took my boss away. This book came from Chapter 3144. Reading on mobile phone. Meng Meng was Li Xiaoyou's assistant. If she stopped her, it could only be that Li Xiaoyu had taken Lu Lingye away. But obviously, Meng Meng did not intend to hide this matter, so it was not harmful to Lu Lingye. Li Xiaoyu did not have a good reputation in the entertainment industry. Although she was an A-list actress, she offended many people because of her arrogant and pretentious character. Moreover, the entertainment industry was very different from the outside. It was just like how celebrities and fans looked at celebrities differently. Many people in the entertainment industry knew that Li Xiaoyu changed boyfriends frequently and very quickly. Her previous boyfriends all had one thing in common. They were good-looking. No matter if it was an A-list male star or a small star, as long as he was good-looking, he would have a chance with Li Xiaoyu. Hey, you're just an assistant. Watch your words. Meng Meng put her hands on her hips and looked at her proudly. What do you mean by taking him away? Sister Yu is giving Lu Lingye a chance. Okay? This is an opportunity that many people can't get even if they burn incense and pray to Buddha. With a dong sound, Luo Qingchun slammed the glass of orange juice down on the table. She looked at Meng Meng with a cold look in her eyes as she said, "I'll ask you once, where did Li Xiaoyu take my boss?" At this moment, Meng Meng swallowed her saliva unconsciously. She was just an assistant, but when she looked at her indifferent eyes, she felt an inexplicable sense of fear. This feeling spread from her fingertips to her toes. It was gloomy and cold, as if she had met a ghost in the middle of July. It made her hair stand on end. Of course Meng Meng bit her lips, and her voice trembled. She looked at Luo Qingchun resentfully and said, in Sister Yu's room." The next second, Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes, turned around without saying anything, and walked upstairs to the hotel room. Meng Meng looked at Luo Qingchun's back with a confused expression. She did not know why she was afraid, and she did not even know why she told this kind of thing to an assistant. She only knew that her legs were a little weak. When she plopped down on the chair, she felt that she had lost all the strength in her body. As for Luo Qingchun, even without Meng Meng telling her the room number, she already knew which room Li Xiaoyu was in. When she came, she took a glance at the schedule and memorized the room numbers of all the artists. This was not her ability, but the original owner's ability. The original owner was a member of the high IQ club, so it was natural for her to have a good memory. But even though she already had a destination in mind, why did she feel so anxious and uneasy when she was heading there? Based on the current situation, it could be inferred that Li Xiaoyu had approached Lu Lingye in private and told Meng Meng to stop her openly. This was enough to prove that Li Xiaoyu did not intend to harm Lu Lingye this time. According to the usual routine of the entertainment industry, one was the female lead of the film crew, while the other was the supporting actor. One was an A-list celebrity, while the other was a peerless beauty. If anything happened between the two of them, it would definitely become a hot topic in the entertainment industry. Not only would it increase the exposure of God of Light, but it would also increase the popularity of the two of them. She understood this routine. At this stage, it would only be beneficial to Lu Lingye. But in her heart, she felt uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. This book came from Chapter 3145, reading on mobile phone, room 2221. She slowly stopped and leaned against the corridor, lost in thought. The entertainment industry was so complicated. So many people didn't like Lu Lingye. Finally, someone wanted to hype him up. As an assistant, she had no reason to refuse. If it were Sister Li, she would definitely agree with this kind of hype. But she was not just an assistant. At the same time, the scene in the room seemed to be more common. "Lu Lingye, you have been in the entertainment industry for a long time." Li Xiaoyu was wearing a sexy bathrobe. She shook the red wine glass in her hand and asked, "You should know why I asked you to come here." There was a faint fragrance in the air, as if taking a deep breath would make people feel uneasy. "I don't know." Lu Lingye frowned slightly. He glanced at the time and said, "If Miss Li has nothing else to say, I will leave first." In fact, he had been in the entertainment industry for so long. There were some things in his heart that were as clear as a mirror. He had never eaten pork, but he had seen pigs run. In this case, Li Xiaoyu asked him out alone. It was most likely that she wanted to create a scandal with him to increase her popularity and popularity. "Lu Lingye, what do you mean?" Li Xiaoyu's face sank. She looked at him with some displeasure and said, "I have given you enough face by asking you out. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Li Xiaoyu's words were too tough. Lu Lingye was not the kind of person who would argue with girls. He just looked away and calmly responded, "I'm sorry, Miss Li. I'm just not good at hype. My agent will not force me to do this kind of thing. Besides, I don't have many scenes in God of Light. I'm afraid I can't bring you continuous popularity." "Oh, it turns out that you're thinking for me." Li Xiaoyu pursed her red lips and looked at Lu Lingye with her seductive eyes. "But when did I say that I want to be a couple with you?" She had to admit that Lu Lingye, under the warm light, was really handsome to an unattainable level. It was really a kind of heaven-defying face. Moreover, in the past, some of those men did it for the sake of popularity, while others did it for her beauty. Once they heard that she was going to be a CP with them, they would all put on a hot face. Lu Lingye, on the other hand, was different. His bashful expression, as well as his desire to reject her, was enough to whet her appetite. Lu Lingye frowned and said doubtfully, "Did I misunderstand Miss Li's meaning?" If he really misunderstood, it would be a bit embarrassing. Why didn't he ask clearly before coming to a conclusion? In Lu Lingye's opinion, if Li Xiaoyu didn't mean it that way, he would really feel bad for her. "That's right. You've misunderstood me." Li Xiaoyu came forward and said with a sweet smile, "Looking at your expression, you must be feeling very embarrassed in front of me." "That's right." Lu Lingye frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, Miss Li. I didn't ask clearly before coming to a conclusion. So, is there anything else you want to talk to me about tonight? Creating a couple is a common public relations means of the company. I didn't ask you to come because of this." Li Xiaoyu put her hands around his neck and stared at his thin lips. "It's because I want to be with you." At this moment, Lu Lingye's head buzzed. The appearance of Luo Qingshun quickly flashed through his mind. He almost changed his usual gentle and gentlemanly appearance and pushed Li Xiaoyu away. Li Xiaoyu didn't expect Lu Lingye to do this. Her eyes widened and she looked at him in disbelief. "Lu Lingye, are you out of your mind? Do you know what you're doing? I am Li Xiaoyu." This book came from Chapter 3146. "Boss, I'll protect you." 30. Lu Lingye knit his brows as his mind was filled with Luo Qingshun's figure. He didn't know why he was so nervous, but this kind of nervousness surrounded his body layer by layer, making it hard for him to breathe. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 50%. Luo Qingshun outside the door. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. Luo Qingshun outside the door. Lu Lingye seemed to know what he was thinking at this moment. His eyes were filled with determination as he took a serious step back. "Young Miss Li, I'm very sorry, but I can't be with you." He needed to decisively reject her. This was what he wanted to do the most. "What did you say?" Li Xiaoyu was completely stunned. She never thought that Lu Lingye would treat her like this. "I think I've made myself very clear." In the next second, Lu Lingye turned around and walked towards the door without looking back. In the next moment, Li Xiaoyu stomped her feet and said, "Lu Lingye, stop right there." She almost roared out these 8 words. She, Li Xiaoyu, had been in the entertainment industry for so many years, and it was like she had cheated. She had always been on the rise, never suffering any setbacks. But today, she didn't just suffer a setback. It was also an insult. To her, this was simply a giant insult. She was a popular female artist, and she had found a third-rate actor for a scandal, but she had been rejected in the end. How could she endure this kind of thing? In the entertainment industry, only she had the right to reject others. No one had the right to reject her. Absolutely. Right? No. Yes. Young Miss Li, is there anything else? Lu Lingye was still embarrassed by Li Xiaoyu, but he wouldn't tell anyone else about this matter. There were too many couples in the entertainment industry, so many that people were already numb to it. "Lu Lingye, Li Xiaoyu will say it here today." Li Xiaoyu tightly bit her lip as she narrowed her eyes and said, "If you dare leave this door tonight, I promise that you won't have a place in the entertainment industry." Li Xiaoyu's words were very firm. If she could say this, it meant that she would definitely do it. To his surprise, Lu Lingye did not hesitate at all. He lowered his eyes slightly, and a faint light flashed in his deep eyes. He said softly, "I've been out for a long time. My assistant will be worried about me. I'll go first." As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped forward, opened the door with his right hand, and left without looking back. The next second, Li Xiaoyu's frantic screams came from the room. There was also that familiar line, "Lu Lingye, I will never let you off." Before she could figure out what to do, the door of Li Xiaoyu's room was opened. Luo Qingshun didn't know why she suddenly felt a bit speechless. She had a lot of things to say when she was standing at the door, but when she saw Lu Lingye coming out so quickly, she couldn't say a word. "What's wrong?" Lu Lingye was stunned for a moment. After all, he didn't expect Luo Qingshun to be standing at the door. But the next second, he showed a touch of gentleness in his eyes. He raised his right hand and said with a very faint smile, "Did you get me the orange juice?" Luo Qingshun was stunned. After 2 or 3 seconds, she nodded stiffly and said, "Yes, this chapter ends." Chapter 31:47. Boss, I'll protect you. 31:31. But what if I don't have anything to eat? He walked around her and walked forward. As if he felt that she was still standing there, he casually took her hand and looked back. Why don't we go out to eat? Since he didn't want to have anything to do with Li Xiaoyu, he might as well not eat dinner. Although Mulberry Hotel was the best place, it didn't mean that there weren't other snacks. For some reason, he suddenly wanted to take her out for a walk. Just the two of them, walking on such a night. But in fact, she was still in a daze from the way he held her hand so tightly and casually that it looked like he was holding it casually. After all, in her opinion, Lu Lingye wouldn't fall in love with someone so quickly. However, the favorability points told her that Lu Lingye cared about her. It seemed that the more someone wanted to get close to him, the faster his favorability increased. Okay, Luo Qingshun's eyes trembled. When we passed by the intersection, the restaurant on the left seemed good. Then let's go there. Lu Lingye nodded. He still walked forward, but he naturally slowed down to match her walking speed. But he didn't let go of her hand. Until they walked out of the hotel, the cool night breeze blew on their faces. Luo Qingshun calmed down and pursed her lips into a faint smile. Boss, I was too nervous, so I didn't ask you on the way. Cuckoo, why did you hold my hand? Lu Lingye's peerless face suddenly flushed with a faint blush upon hearing her question. In the next second, he immediately let go of her hand and coughed dryly. I don't know. It seems like holding your hand gives me a very safe feeling. He wasn't a saint. After so many years in the entertainment industry, he knew a lot of unspoken rules. He also knew Li Xiaoyu's status in the entertainment industry at this stage. She said that she wouldn't let him go. He was afraid that it would be more difficult for him to let an actress go in the future. So you were nervous? Luo Qingshun blinked. Because you refused to be a couple with Li Xiaoyu? How do you know? Lu Lingye's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise. He looked at her in a daze. Her assistant told me everything. Luo Qingshun seriously looked at him with her clear as water eyes. But even if I knew the reason, I still went to find you. Why? At this moment, Lu Lingye felt her heart pounding. She was so nervous that she felt as if she was confessing her love to him. Because I don't want you to be a couple with her. Luo Qingshun seriously looked at him before curling her lips into a smile. Now, boss, can you tell me why you're holding my hand? Silence, silence, silence. Even the air around them seemed to freeze at this moment. Seeing Lu Lingye's awkward appearance, Luo Qingshun didn't want to force her boss. After all, Lu Lingye's personality was special. He was different from many people. Perhaps he didn't have a strong possessiveness. Perhaps he didn't like her overbearingly. Perhaps he had his own interpretation and understanding of love. Forget it, boss. I'm just teasing. I like you. Ding, affection has increased by 20. Mission completion rate is now 80%. End of chapter. Chapter 31:48. Boss, I'll protect you. Two halves. Logically speaking, if their love story was a TV series, there would be a lot of pink bubbles around them at this moment. Boss, you... Luo Qingshun originally wanted to say, boss, why are you so direct? But before she could say it, she was interrupted by Lu Lingye. Qingshun, I know that suddenly saying this must have scared you. Lu Lingye knit his brows. Those eyes that were as deep as the sea looked particularly beautiful under the moonlight. He paused and looked at her with a serious face. But I don't know what's wrong with me. When I first saw you, I had an inexplicable feeling of familiarity. Then this feeling became a kind of tie, and then I couldn't get rid of it. It turned out that a kind, gentle, and upright man was like this when he confessed. His expression would become very serious, and he would even frown. His every word was like a solemn ceremony. Or it could be said that this was his vow to her. Oh, Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said a long, oh, while suppressing her laughter. Lu Lingye was obviously startled. He blinked his eyes and said, just like that, in that. Luo Qingshun touched her ear. Her eyes flashed playfully, and she instantly grabbed his arm and said, I promise you, but there's still one more question. When Luo Qingshun said the last few words, Even her expression became serious. Lu Lingye had just heaved a sigh of relief when she heard her next words. Her heart was in her throat. "What is it, Qingshen? Tell me." Lu Lingye broke free from her restraints and placed his hands on her shoulders. His beautiful eyes glowed as he looked deeply into her eyes and said, "As long as it's something I can do, I'll do it." In an instant, Luo Qingshen couldn't help but laugh. In fact, she didn't know why she was laughing, but unconsciously, she felt a special kind of warm feeling in her heart. Perhaps it was because Lu Lingye was so focused on him that she was a little cute. Or perhaps it was because his confession was so warm that it caught her off guard. "What are you laughing at?" "Actually, boss, I just wanted to ask you something." Luo Qingshen shrugged, nodded slightly, and looked at him. "If I were your girlfriend, would you still give me the assistant's salary?" Lu Lingye was stunned at first, but then he revealed an extremely doting smile as he looked at her and said, "Here, I'll give you 2 portions." Luo Qingshen was also startled. She asked doubtfully, "Why are you giving us 2 portions?" "One for my assistant's salary." Lu Lingye paused for a moment and held her hand in his. "I'll give 1 share to my girlfriend as pocket money." I didn't expect that the boss, who doesn't understand the relationship between men and women, will be so good at whispering sweet nothings. "These aren't sweet nothings," Lu Lingye explained to her seriously. "These really aren't sweet nothings." To him, this was a form of hard work, and he wanted her to be happy. It wasn't just words to make her happy. "I know." Luo Qingshen also looked back at him seriously. "I know what you're saying." She was Lu Lingye, the man who had accompanied her through more than 40 times. How could she not know him? At the same time, in room 2221, since half an hour ago, when Lu Lingye left without looking back, Li Xiaoyu had been smashing things like crazy. End of chapter. Chapter 3149. "Boss, I'll protect you." 3/3. Meng Meng quickly ran up from the hall and comforted her while packing up. "Sister Xiaoyu, don't be angry." Meng Meng looked at her and said, "It's not worth it to be angry for such a man. It's not worth it." "Of course it's not worth it." Li Xiaoyu angrily paced back and forth in the room with her hands on her waist and said, "I must ruin his reputation and never let him rise again in the entertainment circle." "That's right." Meng Meng quickly poured a glass of water for Li Xiaoyu and did not forget to add oil and vinegar. "When I was in the hall just now, I felt that there was something wrong with his assistant." "Hearing what you said, is it because of that assistant that Lu Lingye did not want to be your couple?" "Funny, funny, funny." Li Xiaoyu said 3 funny words in a row. After drinking the water that Meng Meng handed to her, she said, "How can a small assistant be compared with me?" "Li Xiaoyu, is that Lu Lingye's eyes blind?" "Yes, yes, yes." "Sister, don't be angry. That assistant looks pure and cute. How can he be as beautiful as sister?" Meng Meng also pretended to be very angry and said, "Tomorrow, we will find the director to replace Lu Lingye. Out of sight, out of mind." "You think she is pure and cute?" Li Xiaoyu did not seem to hear a single word that Meng Meng said. She only heard the words pure and cute. "No, no, no." Meng Meng immediately shook her head and said, "How can she be cute? That assistant's face is just a passerby, okay? She is ugly." "Humph." The next second, Li Xiaoyu sneered and said, "Lu Lingye, you will definitely pay a painful price for the choice you made. In this world, only she could leave a man first, but a man could never leave her first." After dinner, Luo Qingshen and Lu Lingye returned to the hotel. It was already past 10 o'clock. Along the way, Luo Qingshen was still thinking about Li Xiaoyu. She did not need to investigate her character, because everyone knew it. This kind of arrogant, delicate, and irritable girl would not allow any man to disobey her. Moreover, Lu Lingye directly rejected her. She would definitely find a way to deal with Lu Lingye, and she would do it soon. "What are you thinking about?" Lu Lingye walked out of the bathroom in her pajamas after taking a shower. He didn't wear a bathrobe or pajamas because he felt that since Luo Qingshen was in the same room as him, even if it was a suite, she couldn't walk around as if it was her own home. This is a form of politeness and respect for others. "Nothing." Luo Qingshen shook her head lightly. I just feel that you're so outstanding and so knowledgeable about Xuanhuan. The first film is about a fantasy series, but the second male lead doesn't feel perfect. In fact, what she said now was to pave the way for the worst-case scenario. Lu Lingye was just a C-list celebrity. Now that she had offended Li Xiaoyu as an A-list celebrity, she could easily replace her without even needing a reason. She knew how serious Lu Lingye was when it came to being an actor. Even if he did not star in God of Light, in the end, she would not be the same as him. Qingchun, I know what you want to say. Lu Lingye touched her head and said, when I came out of her room, she warned me. I didn't make this decision on the spur of the moment. I made this decision very carefully. Very carefully? Luo Qingchun's eyebrows moved slightly. What kind of careful? I cannot act in God of Light. Lu Lingye smiled softly. It doesn't matter if I don't act. Isn't it sweet? This chapter ends. Chapter 3150. Reading on mobile phone. In fact, some people were touched. At a certain moment, there would be an indescribable feeling in their hearts. But that's your favorite thing, and you want to give it up for me. Luo Qingchun blinked and said, in fact, in your world, we haven't known each other for a long time. Is it worth it? She was different from Lu Lingye. She had all the memories of their past, so no matter what she did, it was worth it for her. But for Lu Lingye, they had known each other for less than a week. They had turned from friends to lovers, and acting was his life's dream. But now he gave it up just like that. Because I like you more than my dream. Lu Lingye looked at her very seriously and said, I don't know if you will think that I am not ambitious, but this is what I want to say. He gave his whole life to only one person. I know. Luo Qingchun pursed her lips and said with a satisfied smile, don't worry, boss. You'll have everything you want. I will help you realize your dream. Well, okay, but Lu Lingye's eyebrows moved slightly and said, what I want. Can it include you? Well, Luo Qingchun winked playfully and said, let me think about it. Lu Lingye's eyes showed a trace of disappointment in an instant. Luo Qingchun hurriedly said, of course, it includes me. That's good. Lu Lingye touched her head and said, go to bed early. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. Luo Qingchun thought that Lu Lingye was right. Nothing could happen tomorrow. How could a narrow-minded person like Li Xiaoyu let them go? But what Luo Qingchun didn't expect was that some things didn't come too fast, but too directly. Early the next morning, the director's assistant knocked on the door of their room and handed them a notice. Luo Qingchun frowned with some doubts and looked at the clock on the wall. It was 6:30 in the morning. It was indeed a little too early for him to do so. Well, can you tell me what time the shooting will start today? Same as before, we'll start at 12. When Luo Qingchun heard this, she couldn't help but show a puzzled expression. Then why did you send out the notice so early today? You'll know after you read it. The director's assistant did not forget to add, try to persuade your boss. This show is getting a lot of attention now, so it will definitely become popular. It won't ruin its own future. Not everyone has such opportunities and luck. Luo Qingchun wanted to ask more, but the assistant felt that he had said too much, so he hurriedly turned and left. Why are you here so early? Lu Lingye rubbed her eyes and walked out of her room in a set of white home clothes. White seemed to suit him very well. It was clean without any impurities. She often saw him wearing white clothes, which gave people a very comfortable feeling. The director's assistant brought the notice. Luo Qingchun frowned and flipped through the notice. The other actors' parts seemed to be normal, but Lu Lingye's part was different, because they were all Lu Lingye. Cancel. Lu Lingye. Cancel. Lu Lingye. Cancel. All the scenes that he was supposed to shoot today were canceled. Boss. Luo Qingchun tightly knit her brows as a dark look appeared in her eyes. It seems like they can't wait to make a move against you. This book came from Chapter 3151. Reading on his mobile phone in the next second, Lu Lingye's phone rang twice. Lu Lingye took out his phone from his pocket and glanced at it. He frowned slightly. Li Xiaoyu. Yes. What did she say? After thinking for 2 seconds, Lu Lingye put his phone in his pocket and said, I'll be back soon. Can you finish your meal first? Lu Qingchun's eyebrows moved slightly. She nodded obediently and said, okay. Lu Lingye was not a meticulous person who would carry out a comprehensive plan. He should have nothing to hide from her. Maybe he just wanted to deal with some problems by himself. At this moment, she felt that she should believe in him and support all his decisions. 8:30 in the morning. Lu Lingye stood at the door of Li Xiaoyou's room for 2 hours before her assistant opened the door and let him in. I haven't seen you for one night, and you miss me so early in the morning? Li Xiaoyu took a sip of coffee and said, since you waited for 2 hours, I'll listen to what you have to say. Li Xiaoyu naturally knew that the director had deleted all of Lu Lingye's scenes because she had asked Ning Sheng to do so. If he hadn't done so, she wouldn't have played the heroine of God of Light. Not only that, she would have asked a strong public relations team to fabricate rumors and strangle God of Light in the cradle. Ning Sheng had been a director for so many years, so he naturally knew the importance of this. Although he was very reluctant to part with Lu Lingye, he still stopped all of his scenes. He also asked his assistant to send the notice to their room early so that there was still room for negotiation. Miss Li, I just want to tell you something. Lu Lingye's expression was very focused, which made Li Xiaoyu feel that he was going to confess to her in the next second. Li Xiaoyu took a sip of coffee and looked at her nails elegantly. If what you say is good, I may consider your role. In the past, I've always been a sitting duck. Perhaps I knew that something was bound to happen, and there was no point in running away. Lu Lingye paused for a moment before continuing. However, I still chose to let nature take its course. I won't take the initiative to attack. I'll let things develop as I wish. So when you saw the notice tonight, you suddenly knew what to do, right? Li Xiaoyu smiled and said, Lu Lingye, you're not too stupid. It was ridiculous for a male star with such good looks to have a grudge with her, Li Xiaoyu, for an assistant. Fortunately, Lu Lingye seemed to be afraid and was aware of her current situation. Just when she thought she would hear some flattering words, she didn't expect the opposite. Now that I have someone more important than myself in my life, I have to be more responsible for her. Lu Lingye looked at her coldly and said, I don't want to act in this movie anymore. When he spoke, other than the change in his eyes, his tone was very calm. It was as if he was announcing a very ordinary thing. Li Xiaoyu didn't even realize it. What did you say? Li Xiaoyu stared at him and said, Are you crazy, Lu Lingye? Do you know how many people are waiting to play your role? Do you know? This book came from Chapter 3152. Reading on mobile phone. Miss Li, nothing in the world is more important than Qingchen to me at this time. Lu Lingye snorted. I am not you, and I will never understand people like you. But I advise you, if you do too much injustice, you will die. Take care of yourself. As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Lingye turned around without hesitation. She did not even look at Li Xiaoyu as she left. He waited patiently for 2 hours to make it clear to Li Xiaoyu that he would not compromise for anything, and he would never give in. Lu Lingye. Li Xiaoyu's roar came from behind again. She finally understood that Lu Lingye did not come to compromise with her at all. He just came to anger her. Meng Meng saw this and hurriedly comforted her. Sis, don't be angry. I will find the director and ask him to go home. Go home. Ha ha. Li Xiaoyu raised her hand and knocked on her head. Didn't you hear what he said? He said he won't act anymore. He won't act anymore. I heard it. Li Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and threw the coffee cup in her hand. Lu Lingye, I will never let you go. At the same time, in room 2220, Luo Qingchen slept for a while, and Lu Lingye came back. Looking at the time, it was almost 9 o'clock. She didn't want to sleep, but waiting was always a bit difficult, so she simply went to sleep. Why did you take so long? Luo Qingchen poured a glass of water and handed it to him. Did she make things difficult for you? No. Lu Lingye touched her head gently and said, I should be the one who made things difficult for her. Lu Lingye didn't know why, but he felt particularly happy at this moment. Maybe it was because he had done something he had never done before, or maybe it was because he was working hard for the people important to him. In short, he didn't feel depressed at all. Instead, he felt particularly refreshed. This feeling made him feel like déjà vu. What's the matter? I quit. What? Lu Lingye's short words gave her a fright. She never thought that he would quit the show. I've thought about it. Instead of passively waiting for the inevitable outcome, it's better to let it come sooner. Lu Lingye looked at her intently and said, "In this way, I'll feel more comfortable." "Boss, you..." Luo Qingshun frowned slightly. Her brain was spinning quickly. The current situation was quite unfavorable for them. But it wasn't like there was no other way. "Qingshun, don't look at me like that." Lu Lingye's eyebrows twitched. "You're making me nervous. I'll call Sisterly right away and contact a few media outlets." "Boss, you go and pack your things. We'll leave the set immediately." Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes slightly and said, "Now, we can only burn the boats." After a short 15 minutes of communication, Sisterly immediately contacted the media that she often worked with. Half an hour later, the topic of Lu Lingye quickly became a hot search. Expose: Lu Lingye, the second male lead of God of Light, has left the cast with a lonely expression. It seems like he has been replaced. Shocking. Lu Lingye was interviewed in Li Xiaoyu's room. Does Li Xiaoyu really have a boy toy? Consecutive changes. Why did Lu Lingye change from the first male lead to the second male lead, and then from the second male lead to leaving the set? Sitting on the bus, Luo Qingshun quickly checked Weibo, including the comments of major netizens. This book came from Chapter 3153. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Li Xiaoyu had offended a lot of people in the entertainment circle. If they started the topic first, Li Xiaoyu would be at a disadvantage. As for the director, Ning Sheng was a good director, but he was an unprincipled director. Li Xiaoyu's position was higher than Lu Lingye's. In order to keep Li Xiaoyu, he would definitely choose to replace Lu Lingye. That was why he asked his assistant to send the notice so early and told Lu Lingye those words. He wanted him to beg Li Xiaoyu. But now there was a new change in this matter. That was, the person who started the discussion was Lu Lingye. In this way, in the entertainment circle, where there was a possibility of being blamed for everything, everyone would choose not to talk in most cases to protect themselves. It was precisely because of this that Luo Qingshun had to race against time to occupy a favorable position first. In this way, most people would have a preconceived idea. Moreover, the discussion they caused was the truth, and they were not wronged. Luo Qingshun scrolled down, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously raised a very faint smile. The comments were really comfortable to read. A little Mimi. I've always wondered why Lu Lingye suddenly became the second male lead from the male lead, and why Xiao, the male lead, was played by such an ugly HJX. 7,550 likes. North Maple Whaleyong. Upstairs, can you add 10,086? HJX is really a passerby. White Little Fairy. North Maple Whaleyong. You're really flattering him by saying he's a passerby. I just think he's ugly. Come the wind and rain. TSK, TSK, TSK. Are all of you focusing on Lu Lingye? In fact, a few months ago, the news of Li Xiaoyu keeping a pet boy was exposed, but at that time, she was sleeping at night. 6,658 likes. Farewell to youth. Actually, I think Lu Lingye rarely has scandals, but Li Xiaoyu is different. This time, I'm on Lu Lingye's side. Most of the voices on the internet supported Lu Lingye. His phone had been ringing for a long time, and many of the calls were from director Ning Sheng. I feel like it's impolite not to pick up the phone. Lu Lingye looked at Luo Qingshun and asked tentatively, "Can I pick it up?" Luo Qingshun nodded and said, "Sure, but I don't think he'll be nice to you." "Then I'll take it." Luo Qingshun took the phone and said, "Boss, you don't have to feel guilty. After all, well, he decided to stand on Li Xiaoyu's side and wanted to replace you. He didn't feel guilty about it. That's how relationships are. If the other party doesn't treat you with sincerity, why should we treat others with sincerity every time?" "Hello, Director Ning Sheng." As soon as Luo Qingshun picked up the phone, Ning Sheng's roar came from the other end of the phone. "What do you mean by this? Are you trying to destroy Light God? Do you know that this is a big taboo in the industry?" Ning Sheng was very angry. Even his voice was a level higher. "Oh, what taboo?" Luo Qingshun gave a shrug. Could it be that in the eyes of the director, resistance is taboo? Or could it be that you can casually change our artists and we have to swallow this insult? Probably because Luo Qingchen's reaction was too fast. Ningxing didn't know what to say for a while. A few seconds later, he said, "In short, you're violating the principle. No one in the industry will cooperate with you." "I can't guarantee whether they are willing to cooperate with us or not." Luo Qingchen's cold eyes narrowed. "I can guarantee that you and Li Xiaoyu are finished." Chapter 3154. Boss, I'll protect you. 38. Ning Lingye was so angry that she jumped up from her chair. Just as she was about to curse, Luo Qingchen hung up the phone. "Boss, I'll delete his number for you." Luo Qingchen raised her eyebrows and said, "You don't have to keep this kind of person's number." "Oh, okay." Lu Lingye was stunned. Then he looked at her gently and said, "Let's meet up with Sister Li after we fly back and settle this matter. I'll take you on a trip." "A trip?" Luo Qingchen pretended to snicker and blinked. "The book says that if you ask a girl out to play right after you get together, there's a 90% chance that you're up to no good." Lu Lingye was stunned. Then he showed a sincere expression and said, "Qingchen, don't worry, I'll book 2 rooms. TSK, TSK, TSK. Luo Qingchen thought, Lu Lingye is really a special person. Who would book 2 rooms for a trip with their girlfriend? "Then I'll go with you to the company to find Sister Li." "No need." Lu Lingye shook his head and said, "The flight will take more than an hour. Go home and rest first. Wait for my news." Luo Qingchen thought that Lu Lingye probably had something he wanted to do, so she didn't have to go with him. The most important thing was that she had already taken care of most of this matter. At least for now, they had the right time, place, and people. The next thing to do was to wrap things up. Besides, she hadn't been home for a long time. Ever since she met Lu Lingye with Luo Qingmu and Chen Shanmei that day, she hadn't been home. Firstly, it was because she was busy with her assistant's matters. Secondly, she didn't know how to face Chen Shanmei, because whether Lu Lingye was Siyi or not, she couldn't hand him over to Chen Shanmei. Moreover, the way Chen Shanmei looked at Lu Lingye that day was very different. This difference wasn't even between friends. It was between a man and a woman. After getting off the plane, Lu Lingye went straight to the company to deal with the follow-up public relations while she went straight home. However, the atmosphere at home was very different. "Qingchen, you're finally back." Luo Mu was the first to greet her and hold her hand. "Your brother hasn't come out of the room these 2 days. He drinks alone and asks him what happened. He doesn't say anything. He just says that if you come back, go to him." Luo Qingchen slightly knit her brows when she heard this. "I know. And..." Luo Mu lowered her voice and continued, "Shanmei moved out. So fast. Eh? Did you know she would move?" "I guessed it." Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and sighed. "Mom, this matter is a bit complicated. Don't worry about it. I'll go talk to my brother first." Okay. Go. Actually, Luo Qingchen had indeed guessed that Chen Shanmei would want to move out. If she really believed that Lu Lingye was the Siyi she was talking about, she would definitely want to be alone with him. But this villa belonged to the Luo family. Plus, Luo Qingmu liked her. It would be very inconvenient anyway. Because Luo Qingmu liked Chen Shanmei very much, he would rather give up the big room and live in the small room next to Chen Shanmei's that was originally used as a utility room. In fact, the original owner didn't pay much attention to Luo Qingmu's affairs. Therefore, she didn't care much about the relationship between him and Chen Shanmei. But now, it seemed that his feelings were not shallow and very deep. End of chapter. Chapter 3155. Boss, I'm here to protect you. Luo Qingluo pushed the door open. The room was filled with the smell of alcohol. Luo Qingchen turned on the lights. There were beer bottles all over the floor. Luo Qingmu was lying in the corner of the room with a beer bottle in her hand. "Do you know that Mom is very worried about you like this?" Luo Qingchen didn't know where to start, so she casually found a topic. "You're finally back." Luo Qingmu looked up slowly. Her eyes were dark blue, and under the light, they looked exceptionally beautiful. "What's wrong with you?" Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and said, "You and Sister Shanmei have never been together. Are your feelings that deep? In the world of love, many things were different from person to person. However, most of the time, unrequited love was not as painful as falling out of love after being together. Can I? Luo Qingmu narrowed her eyes and said, I like her. Can't I? But she, Luo Qingchan sighed and said, doesn't she like our countries? See? He's already dead. Luo Qingmu shouted angrily. Since he's already dead, how can he fight with me for Shan Mei? Since Lu Lingye's personality is so different from Si Ye's, it's unlikely that he's Si Yi. Luo Qingchun bit her lips and said, besides, even if Lu Lingye is Si Yi, Sister Shan Mei liking him is not something we can control. Sister, we don't belong to this world. Luo Qingmu looked at her and said, we have to go back. We can't have anything to do with the people here. But Sister Shan Mei has already left. She can't see you like this. Luo Qingchun frowned and said, brother, Lu Ling is not in a good condition now. Don't throw a tantrum. After all, whether or not we can go home depends on him. The original owner did not have enough time to find the special energy in Lu Lingye's house, but she should be able to. You're just his assistant. Do you think you can enter his house as you please? Luo Qingmu sneered. Easier said than done. I'm not just his assistant. Luo Qingchun raised her eyes and said, I'm his girlfriend. What? For some reason, Luo Qingchun felt that Luo Qingmu was overjoyed. As expected, this was a man. In any case, I will find the reason for the disappearance of the energy as soon as possible. Luo Qingchun looked at him and said, but Lu Lingye is not in a good situation now, so I need your help. How can I help you? I think. Luo Qingchun frowned slightly. I'm afraid you're not the only one who needs help. I also need our parents' help. But that's all for later. Luo Qingchun winked and said, it depends on how the company deals with Lu Lingye. Ding Ling, just as Luo Qingchun was comforting Luo Qingmu, her phone rang. It was Lu Lingye's number. Hello, boss. Qingchun, when are you coming back? Lu Lingye's voice was a little strange. Luo Qingchun could tell that something was wrong. I'm at the door. Lu Lingye lowered his voice and said, that day, the girl at the entrance of the hotel suddenly came to my door. Luo Qingchun was stunned. She turned around and said to Luo Qingmu, Sister Shan Mei is at your door. What? Boss, don't worry. I'll go over now. I'm not worried. Lu Lingye frowned and said, I think she's strange. Come over quickly, okay? End of chapter. Chapter 31:56. The entire book. Luo Qingchun wanted Luo Qingmu to drive faster, but she never thought that she wouldn't need this reminder. Luo Qingmu stepped on the gas pedal and flew off. Brother? Brother. Luo Qingchun bit her lips and said, slow down, slow down. How can I slow down? Luo Qingmu cleaned herself up in 5 minutes and sped away like a madwoman. No, brother. Luo Qingchun felt that it was useless to say anything. She could only hold the handle of the car tightly and prepare to freeze time in case of an accident. Fortunately, Luo Qingmu's driving skills were quite good. She ran countless red lights along the way, but nothing happened. In less than 10 minutes, the car arrived at the entrance of Lu Lingye's villa. Logically speaking, Luo Qingchun almost did not react in time. As soon as she got out of the car, Lu Lingye rushed towards her and held her hand naturally. Then, she stood firmly beside her. Chun Shanmei, who was not far away, was stunned. She felt a sharp pain in her heart. This feeling made it difficult for her to breathe. She had done so much for him. When she knew that he was in trouble, she scolded all the people who were scolding him on the internet. When she knew that he was coming back today, she waited at his door. She wanted to see him safe and sound with her own eyes. But his first reaction was to avoid her. Then, on the surface, he was polite, but in reality, he quickly called someone he thought was safe. How ironic. Qingchun. He looked sideways and whispered in her ear, she is really strange. It's okay. Luo Qingchun blinked at him and said, I'm here. Shanmei, don't you plan to go back? Luo Qingmu frowned, but her tone was still very gentle. I'm fine. Chen Shanmei's voice was very low. She looked at Luo Qingshun with hostility and said, "Can we talk inside? What if the paparazzi took a picture of us here? Aren't you an assistant? You don't even know this?" Luo Qingshun naturally felt Qin Shanmei's hostility, but she also knew that Qin Shanmei probably couldn't control her emotions, or perhaps she was too concerned about Lu Lingye, which caused her to lose control. "You're right." Luo Qingshun looked at Lu Lingye and said, "Let's go in first." "Sure," Lu Lingye said casually. "But the key is with you." "In mine." "Yeah." Oh. Luo Qingshun took out her bag and said, "Yes, it's mine, it's mine." Perhaps it was because the conversation was too ordinary, but in Chen Shanmei's eyes, it sounded so harsh. Once upon a time, how could the insufferably arrogant Si Yi be so close and doting to a girl? But now he seemed to like standing beside Luo Qingshun very much. When he was beside her, his face would reveal a sense of security. In the living room, Luo Qingshun wanted to speak first, but Lu Lingye seemed to feel that he couldn't give in to her, so he spoke first. "Young Miss Chun, regarding the matter of Si, Qingshun should have told me about it." Lu Lingye looked at her with a serious expression. "I am not him. I just want you to answer a question." Qin Shanmei put her hands in front of her chest and looked at him seriously. She said, "Have you lost your memory before? It happened 4 years ago." Lu Lingye felt his entire back stiffen, but in the next second, he looked at Qin Shanmei with certainty and said, "No." Chapter 31:57. The whole book. But at that moment, Luo Qingshun could clearly feel that he was stunned. "I see." Qin Shanmei's expression was very disappointed. This sense of loss flowed from her blood directly into the depths of her heart. "You guys talk." Luo Qingmu seemed to be unable to listen anymore. He turned around and said, "I'm going out for a smoke." "Smoke?" Luo Qingshun looked sideways and said, "Brother, didn't you quit smoking?" Back then, the boy who said that he wanted to be a clean boy and not let smoking affect his breath had quit smoking long ago. "I left 2 days ago. Can't I?" Luo Qingmu turned around without hesitation. She did not even look back. But Luo Qingshun felt that he wanted to turn around. He wanted that person to tell him to, because when he used to smoke, Qin Shanmei would occasionally say that smoking was bad for health. Luo Qingshun remembered that Luo Qingmu was a heavy smoker in the original owner's memory. But he quit smoking for Qin Shanmei. However, Qin Shanmei was not even his girlfriend. But he was willing to do what many men could not do for their wives. After Luo Qingmu left, there were only 3 of them in the living room. The scene was very awkward. Lu Lingye looked over Qin Shanmei and said to Luo Qingshun, "Qingshun, Big Sisterly has already taken care of the rest, but she said that this matter will have a big impact on us." "I know." Luo Qingshun nodded and said, "Although I hate Director Ningxiang, he is right. What we did may seem to be a deadlock with one crew, but in fact, it may make many crews afraid of us." The entertainment circle was very complicated. No one wanted to have a time bomb around them. "Yes." Lu Lingye nodded and said, "On the surface, it seems that we won. But Sisterly said that many of the advertisements and endorsements were taken back. Li Xiaoyu must have a lot to do with it." Luo Qingmu pursed her lips and said, "Will you blame me?" "No." Lu Lingye said seriously, "I will never blame you." Actually, Luo Qingshun could feel that when Lu Lingye said this, Qin Shanmei's entire body was stiff and her mood wasn't good. She knew that Lu Lingye was doing this on purpose. He wanted to let Qin Shanmei know his feelings for Luo Qingshun. No matter what, they could face it together and bear it together. But she didn't want to leave. She didn't want to leave even though she would be tormented by such a scene. But fortunately, Sisterly said that the popular IP fantasy drama Styx is currently looking for a male lead. She helped me talk to them. Although she has not worked with the author and director this time, they seem to be very willing to work with us. Of course. Luo Qingshun casually walked to the kitchen and took a glass of juice. She took a sip and said, "You're a hot topic right now. High risk, high reward. But boss, why do you like Xuanhuan dramas so much?" Because, just as Lu Lingye was about to answer, Luo Qingmu's scream came from not too far away. "Brother." Qingmu, Luo Qingshun, and Qin Shanmei spoke at the same time. They looked panicked and ran towards the direction of scream. After turning the corner in the backyard, they saw Luo Qingmu lying on the ground. Her right hand was covered in blood. "Brother, what's wrong?" Luo Qingchen hurried forward to help him up and said, "Why are you covered in blood?" "I'm fine." Luo Qingmu's eyes were deep, and her thin lips were thin. She said softly, "I found the wormhole." Chapter 31:58. "Boss, I'll protect you." 42. Luo Qingchen was stunned. She squinted her eyes and looked at the wormhole that Luo Qingmu was talking about. But this place soon disappeared, leaving only a white dot. "It should be the wormhole's energy that hurt you." Luo Qingchen frowned slightly and said, "What exactly is this thing? We need to discuss it at length." Chen Shanmei looked at his injured hand and turned her eyes away. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." A complicated look flashed across Luo Qingmu's eyes as she said, "The place where the wormhole appears must be a place with strong energy." "You mean?" In the next second, Luo Qingmu's gaze landed on Lu Lingye. At this moment, Lu Lingye was completely confused, but he was sure that Luo Qingchen had some secrets that he didn't know. "No way." Luo Qingchen bit her lips and said, "I'm not that sensitive. We've all lost our energy. It's normal that we're not sentient." Luo Qingmu looked a little hurt, but he suppressed the hurt in his heart and said calmly, "I'll go back and tell Dad and Mom first." "Are you coming back with me?" In the next second, Luo Qingchen and Chen Shanmei looked at Luo Qingmu at the same time. Luo Qingmu was not asking Chen Shanmei, but his sister. Luo Qingchen was about to answer when Chen Shanmei interrupted her. "You can go back. I'll stay here." Chen Shanmei said coldly, "You won't be able to help even if you stay." Luo Qingchen glanced at Lu Lingye. Lu Lingye quickly said, "Qingchen can stay." Instantly, he turned to Chen Shanmei and said, "Miss Chen, I don't know you at all. If it weren't for Qingchen, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. But that doesn't mean you can always be so fierce to my girlfriend." Lu Lingye's powerful words not only frightened Chen Shanmei, but also Luo Qingchen. She had never expected that the gentlemanly Lu Lingye would say such things to a girl. She thought that he must be angry. Chen Shanmei's eyes reddened. There was an indescribable feeling in her heart. This feeling was very bad. She didn't blame Lu Lingye, but she hated Luo Qingchen even more. Although they were on their planet, Lu Lingye did not want to be close to her. He was such a high and mighty person, so how could he be close to her? But he didn't have any girls by his side, and he didn't care about anyone. He was as cold as frost, like a huge ice house. Other than constantly cultivating his special ability, he didn't care about anything else. But now, he had Luo Qingchen by his side. He was no longer cold. His gentleness was like a gust of warm wind in winter, constantly blowing into the other person's heart. However, such a warm breeze could only make her, a bystander, despair. Actually, Lingye is right. Luo Qingchen didn't seem to want to ease the atmosphere this time. After all, she wanted to ease the atmosphere in the past because she felt that Chen Shanmei was a good person. She didn't want to make things too awkward. But now, I'm not a person who meekly accepts adversity. I called you Sister Shanmei because I respect my brother, so I respect you. Luo Qingchen looked at her indifferently and coldly. But if you do this again and again, I will feel that you are not a person worthy of respect. End of chapter. Chapter 31:59. Boss, I'll protect you. 43. The next second, Chen Shanmei roared, "He's Siyi, not the Lu Lingye you're talking about. Whether he's Siyi or Lu Lingye, he has nothing to do with you." Chen Shanmei was stunned for a moment and couldn't say anything. In fact, Luo Qingchen had wanted to say this for a long time, but she didn't because of Chen Shanmei's face. "All right, stop talking about Shanmei." Luo Qingmu looked at them and said, "I will get angry." For some reason, ever since Chen Shanmei Siyi had appeared, Chen Shanmei's personality had changed a lot. Luo Qingchen could understand. After working so hard for one thing, they still lost at the starting point. This kind of feeling would make people feel quite unreconciled. But there's nothing he could do because she didn't love him. She didn't love him. One look was enough to tell that she didn't love him. Or a single look could tell how much she loved him. Go back. The boss and I still have some company matters to deal with. Luo Qingchen glanced at Luo Qingmu and said, no matter what, this is someone's private residence. Don't be the kind of person you hate the most. When she said this sentence, the meaning behind it was very broad, but she felt that everyone present was smart, so they should understand it. All right, I'll head back first. Chun Shanmei clenched her teeth and looked at Luo Qingchen with a fierce expression. You have to protect him well. If he gets hurt, I won't let you off. The current Luo Qingchen in Chun Shanmei's eyes was already a complete enemy. However, there would always be a young man by her side who would become sonorous and powerful for her. If you bully Qingchen, I won't let you go even if I have to give up my life. In an instant, Lu Lingye took Luo Qingchen's hand and walked towards the room. Before leaving, she didn't forget to say, you can go out directly from the side door of the courtyard. I won't see you out. Lu Lingye's voice was very cold. Lu Qingchen had been in this world for so many days. No matter what kind of predicament they were in, his voice had never been so cold. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. And when they were here, he even increased her favorability towards him. Lu Lingye didn't know what was wrong with him. In short, he just didn't want Luo Qingchen to be bullied. Although he knew that she might not need his protection because of her mysterious identity, he didn't want her to suffer even the slightest bit of grievance. In the study, Luo Qingchen changed her clothes and leaned on the sofa to study the script of Styx. 10 minutes ago, Sisterly called to inform them that they had obtained the filming rights of Styx. However, this time, they could only film web dramas. Although most of the netizens were still on Lu Lingye's side regarding God of Light, such public opinion would have a negative impact on society. Therefore, it would be difficult for Lu Lingye to receive any official advertisements or TV series in the near future. But the more she looked at the script of Styx, the more Luo Qingchen felt a sense of familiarity. The time and space of the male lead in this script was very similar to the lunar soul planet that they were in before. The male lead Shura had also disappeared on the way back because of a mission. Everyone thought that he was already dead. Actually, he had gone to another normal planet with an ability. That planet was called the Styx. Without knowing why, she felt like there was a thread that kept pulling them back to the right track of time and space. End of chapter. Chapter 3160. Silly girl, what are you thinking about? Lu Lingye placed a cup of warm coffee in front of her and said, Qingchen, you've worked hard during this period of time. He wasn't a domineering person, and he wasn't even someone who would fight for himself. Hence, he always felt that he would bring trouble to the people around him. In the past, there was only Sisterly, but now there was another one. Sisterly was still all right. After all, it was all work. She had her own views and values, and they were also troublesome to each other. However, Luo Qingchen was different. She was someone he wanted to protect and protect. Boss, I'm your assistant at work. Luo Qingchen took a sip of coffee and said, what's so hard about it? I don't want you to be an assistant. I just want you to be a little girl at home. Lu Lingye hugged her and said, you can be happy every day and do whatever you want. There won't be any weird people coming to disturb you, and there won't be any weird people coming to hate you. Ever since he was young, he had never been troubled by his looks. However, now that he saw Chun Shanmei constantly fighting against him, he felt especially uncomfortable. He didn't want to go overboard with his words to girls, but he didn't want her to be bullied even more. Luo Qingchen gently leaned her head on his shoulder and said, Boss, you actually have a lot of doubts in your heart, right? If he didn't have a lot of doubts, he wouldn't have called Chun Shanmei a weird person. Boss, the story might be a little long. Just listen carefully. Lu Lingye looked at her cute face and patted her head gently. As long as it's from you, I'll listen to everything. In the next half an hour, Luo Qingchen told Lu Lingye everything about Lunar Soul Planet, including why Chun Shanmei kept calling him Siyi. Although this sounds exaggerated, it's a good thing that there are many fantasy dramas, so it should be easy to understand. Luo Qingchen looked at him and said, you don't need to put this matter in your heart. It shouldn't be related to the boss. Actually, maybe they are related. Lu Lingye's low voice suddenly sounded, startling her. So that day, Luo Qingqian's brows furrowed slightly. She pursed her lips and said, "When Shan Shanmei mentioned what happened 4 years ago, you hesitated. Can you tell?" Lu Lingye's expression instantly became a little flustered. He grabbed her hands and said, "I didn't mean to lie to you. I know." Luo Qingqian nodded. "I know you don't want them to be more certain that you're Prince Siyi. The reason he did it was for no other reason than her. My life is actually not that complicated. When I regained my memory, I was already in the hospital. Then there's my father, a tycoon in the business circle. Actually, I don't remember him. Didn't you explain it to him later? He only came to see me once before he went to the West to focus on the project. I didn't even have time to say anything before he left. He only came back twice in 4 years. After that, Big Sisterly found me, and I entered the entertainment industry." Luo Qingqian frowned. She felt a little strange. If Lu Lingye wasn't from this world, why would he have a father? Because the place where Prince Siyi fell was the Lu family. The original young master of the Lu family was his clone in this space-time. In other words, when one appears, the other will disappear. Chapter 3161. "Boss, I'm here to protect you." When she was at her most confused, the system gave her an answer. It turned out that there was a different time and space in this world. Lu Lingye's identity was a clone of Siyi from Lunar Soul Planet. Okay, however, there was no point in talking about this now, because in this world, they had no abilities. They were all ordinary people. "I understand." Luo Qingqian nodded and said, "Boss, just focus on studying the script of Styx. Don't worry about anything else." Luo Qingqian had a feeling that Lu Lingye had missed out on so many excellent works just to wait for Styx. She felt that this work was the one that would bring him to the peak of his life. "Okay." Lu Lingye looked at her and said, "Since Qingqian said so, I will do my best to play the role of Shura to the best of my ability." At the same time, in the Luo family's villa, Luo Qingmu told him about the wormhole and Lu Lingye. Father Luo did not seem surprised at all. He put down his golf club and looked at them. "This is why I asked Qingqian to protect him." "What did you say?" Chen Shanmei was shocked. "You knew about this long ago. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me?" Luo Qingmu saw how agitated she was and said, "Calm down and let father finish." "What? What is there to say?" Chen Shanmei was so agitated that her lips trembled. "Your family planned to hide Siyi. You even asked Luo Qingqian to protect him. What are your intentions?" "Miss Chen Shanmei, what identity are you using to question the Luo family?" Father Luo's eyes flashed sharply. "The Luo family was ordered by the king to look for the prince. We didn't expect to land on this planet. I don't need to tell you the details." Father Luo turned around and said, "You should know that I hate the younger generation the most." Chen Shanmei was stunned. Although she was unwilling, she had to lower her head. Without Luo Xiong's help, she might not have been able to find out more about Lu Lingye. She wanted him to recover his memories. She wanted him to know that she was Siyi. She wanted him to never be so gentle and special to a girl again. "Uncle, it was my fault just now. I was too agitated." Chen Shanmei's voice softened in the next second. "I have a different obsession with the prince than other people, so I lost my composure. I know about this." Papa Luo glanced at Luo Qingmu and said, "After all, my son has been working hard for so long, but to no avail." "Dad." Luo Qingmu looked away. She was upset. He had always known Si Ye's position in Chen Shanmei's heart, and he had never thought of replacing this position. But that man was already dead. He had been dead for 4 years. Luo Qingmu felt that at least he still had a chance. It couldn't be considered taking advantage of the situation. At the very least, there was finally a result after so many years of hard work. However, the heavens had played a huge joke on him. Not only was Siyi not dead, but he was also on the same planet as them. And this time, they came out to look for Siyi. I asked Qingqian to be Lu Lingye's assistant. On one hand, I wanted to find out the whereabouts of the wormhole. On the other hand, I wanted to protect him. Father Luo stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Chen Shanmei and said, "You will definitely ask why I asked Qingqian to go, and not you." The song Robber's Journey was very nice. End of chapter. Chapter 3162. The entire book Shanmei did not speak, but her eyes expressed her doubts. Because everyone on the lunar soul planet will be affected by the wormhole. Father Luo narrowed his eyes and said, except for Si Yi and Qingchun. It had to be said that this news really surprised Qin Shanmei. She had never thought that this was the reason why Luo Xiong asked Luo Qingchun to protect Si Yi. You still look doubtful. Father Luo looked at Luo Qingmu's hand and said, this is the result of being affected by the wormhole. Go and apply the medicine. They don't care about you, but I do. Okay. Luo Qingmu frowned and said, Dad, don't make things difficult for Shanmei. She has an obsession in her heart. I understand her. Humph. Father Luo stood with his hand behind his back and said, you just need to understand her. You must have seen how your sister was bullied. Just by looking at Chen Shanmei's attitude towards him as an elder, he knew that she must have treated her daughter worse. And as her brother, he must have protected his Shanmei even more. Don't worry. Luo Qingmu's eyes darkened and said, she doesn't need my protection anymore. I think you've never protected your sister. Father Luo glanced at Qin Shanmei and said, you're already so old. I've said what I wanted to say. All the decisions in the future are still up to you. Wait. Seeing that Luo Xiong was about to leave, Qin Shanmei stopped him and said, then when can we return to the lunar soul planet? When can we bring Prince Si Yi back? What does it have to do with us when you want to return to Moon Soul? Father Luo shrugged and chuckled. You can go back whenever you want. Don't you know where the wormhole is? But how can we pass through the wormhole without energy? Qin Shanmei was anxious. She gritted her teeth and said to Father Luo, Uncle, don't bully me because I don't know. Yes. Father Luo nodded and said, no one can pass through the wormhole without energy. That's why I don't know how long I can live. I'm not going to die. No. Qin Shanmei looked at him resolutely and said, I don't care. I must pass through the wormhole and bring Si Yi back to the lunar soul planet. Only when he returned would he be able to recover his memories. Only then would he not be like a fool protecting a person like this. Love? Qingmu. Don't be agitated. Don't be agitated. Father Luo showed an indifferent expression. We won't stop you. Qin Shanmei was so angry that her face turned red. She found that her heart was filled with anger, but there was nothing she could do. Luo Xiongyi and Luo Qingmu. Translation. Luo Yi. In other words, as translation, Si Yi could translation as Si Yi translation mu. What should she do? What should she do? What should she do to make Si Yi return to Moon Soul and regain his memories? How could he become the Si Yi who wouldn't treat anyone well? Not the Lu Lingye that made people feel uncomfortable just by looking at her. Qin Shanmei had no other choice. At this moment, the only thing she could do was endure. Only by enduring could she get closer to him and make him return to his original state. Uncle, I was too impulsive just now. You know how important he is to me. In the end, Qin Shanmei softened and said, I won't be impulsive again until I know how to recover my energy.